I'm alive.
Yeah.
I'm working towards the launch of all my comics in the year 2035.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I reckon about another 6 weeks to finish all the photographs and stuff, and then another 9 years, 10 months to get to the next level in World of Warcraft.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Luckily, I'm outsourcing all the work now to America, so it's progress is being made.
How do they
Then
photograph
he can't
comics?
come over and take a few
them.
pictures for you.
I'm waiting for Kyle to say something.
I don't ever want to see a fucking spreadsheet again.
You must have loved it. You got through it like a dose of salts.
Just look close. I'm still cross-eyed. And I'm not kidding. That's not a joke. I can't get my eyes to focus 3 days later.
Oh my God, you pushed it too hard.
Right, Kyle, you need to sue him under the employer's liability legislation.
No. I can't see. It doesn't. The body stuff doesn't matter. I can't fix the fucking brain.
Okay.
When I get something in my head, the old Marine in me kicks in and is like, you said it, you did it, you do it, you push through it, you deal with it afterwards.
I don't know if you guys can make that out. The comic I was reading today had the Spanish Inquisition in it.
Aha! Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Wait, they have pointed hoods. Isn't that the Clannish Inquisition?
So I thought that was quite funny. I thought I'd share it.
Yeah. Did you catch what I said there? They have pointed hoods. Isn't that the Clannish Inquisition?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they're not white.
Yeah, we heard you.
Well, no, I'm pretty sure if you think of that old Black Panther show, that Black Panther series in Marvel Premiere, they had the different colored robes on.
Yeah, there's a few clan covers on.
Yeah, that was in white robes, aren't they?
Yeah.
Anyone done anything exciting to report?
Yeah, I went to an auction in Ipswich yesterday.
Okay.
Any
good?
Yeah, I got some really interesting stuff.
Did your Lovecraft pulp turn up yet?
It has arrived, yes. I've got it in front of me. I've got a couple of my pulps in front of me. I'll show you those in a second. So I got a whole bunch of these. Now, I don't know if you know these. They're from a publisher called IW in 1958. Now, IW...
Iger West.
Yeah, was around from 1958 to 1964. What happened was this guy, whose initials were IW, I can't remember his name, bought a bankrupt printing company. And when he went in and looked at the printing company, they'd got loads of plates for comics. This printing company had printed comics.
So this is the illegal reprint.
He had the internal pages for the comics, but not the covers. So he assumed, because he had the printing stuff, that he was allowed to do the reprints without any license from the original publisher. So these are new covers on old comics, because he had the printing plates for the insides. And so he did this completely without license. Now, luckily for him, most of the companies that he was doing this were gone already. So there was
That's
nobody.
a holy oak right there in your hands.
Yeah. So this is this is actually reprints Blue Beetle number 44 from Fox Comics. The other interesting
did he change the names of the characters as well or something?
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes the cover has absolutely nothing to do with the contents.
Okay.
And there's two issues of this: issue 1 and issue 10.
Wow.
Something else you'll catch with a lot of those, like the cover will either be the splash page or at least a panel that's got some action on it, and they just blew it up and made a cover of it.
Here's another one. I quite like this cover. We think the artist is potentially a guy called Carl Burgos.
Heard that name.
Yeah.
What's he famous for?
I don't know, Kyle. What's he famous for?
Not Johnny Storm, but the original.
Oh, okay. Right. And again, this one only has 2 issues. Issue 1 and issue 9. This one's probably actually the most valuable of the ones I picked up. It's Dr. Fu Manchu #1. Again, Carl Burgos cover art. This is the only issue. There's only 1 issue of Dr. Fu Manchu, and it reprints the Mask of Dr. Fu Manchu from Avon Comics 1951, and internally the artwork is done by Wally Wood and Joe Orlando.
So that one actually has got a Fu Manchu.
It has actually got a Fu Manchu story in it.
Yeah.
This next one is described as a Doctor Strange prototype. Now, what's interesting about this is the cover has absolutely nothing to do with the inside of the comic. So inside, this is a horror comic. It reprints City of the Living Dead. It's a golden age horror comic from Avon in 1952, and that cover bears no relation to anything inside the comic.
My old comic shop, a little more than 30 years ago, he had a stack of those because they're warehouse finds, basically. The better conditioner warehouse finds. And he was one of those bigger names in comic distributors in the Midwest. And he had a great big lot of them, and he couldn't give them away for $3 a piece.
No, they're actually worth about these are worth about $30, $50 each.
Yeah, they've added in value, but like in the 80s and 90s when the story came out, and that whole backstory of him finding it and things, people just treated them like reprints, and they just went, nah, we don't want them.
Yeah. So the cover's original. So the artist on this cover is unknown. There is some speculation that it is Vince Coletta. It reprints realistic romances from Avon in 1951. There are 3 copies of this. This is issue 1. There's also issue 8 and then issue 9, which I found on UK eBay for £5. So those are on the way to me.
Is that a TMP stamp on it?
Yeah, no, I think that is a Len Miller stamp. Can you see it says LM6D? I think these came into the country through Len Miller.
Yeah, and they've probably been there about 30 years because, like I said, they couldn't give them away in the 90s. They just couldn't give them away here because it had the reprint stigma to it. No matter how good it was, it had the reprint stigma to it.
Yeah.
So did Len Miller reprint the other reprints, or?
No, I've never seen reprints of the original. The originals have all got different covers because I looked up the covers. This is John Severin cover. It reprints Gold Medal Comics issue 1 from 1945.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, that's an interesting story. And the plates, somebody still has the plates. Somebody like Vinny Zerzullo or something still, because that's when they still had the metal plates.
Yes, yeah.
When he says plates, they're actually metal plates. And they still have them. They're still out there. They're
so this guy, I think he produced, over 6 years, he produced about 650 comics. But there were 351 titles. So the average number of comics per title was 2.
Yeah.
And it was basically all profit because he wasn't paying anybody, or he paid the cover.
He paid $20. He had to pay for the cover art, Kyle.
Yeah, he'd pay like 20, and that was only like $20 back then.
Yeah,
quite literally $25.
This one, because it's a cowboy magazine, it's got 10 issues, and they are numbered 1 to 10.
So you've got sci-fi inside.
No, it's good question, Terry. It actually is a cowboy comic.
Wow.
The Fighting Daniel Boone.
Oh, great.
These are in really good condition. This guy must have got.
Is anyone there? Phil's turning up today.
Don't know. I haven't spoken to him.
I'll put the link in the thing.
Another nice romance comic. Frontier
Mark,
romance.
you want to hear something funny about these two?
Yeah, go on.
you know how, like, almost any comics, you'll find varying grades of them, and so many of them will have the tops torn off of them for mailbacks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You'll never find that with those because they were too tightwad. So they're either in great shape or tattered, but they're never segmented or tore off.
Yeah, and there's no dates on them either. He did an Alan
Yeah.
Clark. There's no dates on them, so he could reissue them if he wanted.
And no hassle for copyright. So I said, and rumor has it he was in with a lot of gangsters, but again, that rumor was heavy in the 50s. That was heavy in the 50s.
This is Kanga, Jungle King, and it reprints Kanga comics from Fiction House.
Right.
And go back to that Western romance real quick. You may want to research or frontier romance. If that's not Matt Baker, I'll be surprised. It's possible not, but it sure as hell sounds like Matt Baker.
The credit on the Grand Comics database goes to Sol Brodsky
for the cover.
Yeah,
but the art on Frontier Romance
art might be Matt Baker. Oh, okay.
Ray,
there's
Ray, hit it.
Oh, hang on. There's one on Splat Comics. It's in a bit of a rough shape though. It's a bit rough for me.
Well, hold on then.
Have you got a better copy?
No.
You got any Bob Hopes, Darren?
It's good. I really need fine or better.
You know, I knew it would be undergrade for you, but I was just amazed to have some.
Yeah, no, you have got a couple. Yeah, you can pick them up. As Kyle says, they're not well known, and
they just lost popularity. And again, this is 30 years ago, but it had that reprint stigma, so it burned a whole section of collectors. And now they're discovering it later in life. But when I was in my prime of collecting, I could have just got stacks of those for nothing because nobody wanted them, nobody cared. Now people are starting to understand they're cool.
$30 to $50 now.
Yeah, and
in good grade. They've got to be in good grade.
It's a good profit margin.
This is attributed to John Severin. This reprints U.S. Fighting Air Force issue 1 from Superior.
Mark,
Comics.
You got these? Where'd you get these? Some kind of collector, dealer, or something?
Yeah, so I got them from an auction in Ipswich. There was obviously a collector.
So somebody put time into yours, whereas to Darren's are a little roughed up. If I was a gambling man, I'd flat out say Darren's were ballast books. I could almost promise you Darren's were ballast books. From the time frame and things like that, from the late 50s through the 70s, when they couldn't move these books and they had to clear out warehouses, they'd make money by selling them as ballast books. Well, they'd get knocked around. Their condition would be off. Like the top and bottoms would be trash, but the middle ones would come out lower grade. But it's pure profit. Even if they're only getting 10 cents a book, it's pure profit. So you get a pallet of those, you get $100 a pallet, you move 20 pallets, you make your nut for the day or whatever. So if you get those over there in rougher shape, odds are they were ballast books. And if you get them in decent shape, they're somebody's collection books or one of these hoarders here in town. Because any of those, and I don't want to lump in Alan Class, but you understand what I'm talking about when I say it. These comic shop owners who were doing it before it was trendy, the uber comic nerds who would have 100,000 books in their upstairs of their shop or in their garage or whatever like that, and they filtered through them. Well, they'd be loaded out with those and wouldn't know what to do with them, so they'd ship them off in bulk. So the guy who got those might have got that whole thing for $50.
Yeah,
no, get rid of it. Something here in the States.
Because these have got different stamps on them. I think they've got this one's got another Len Miller stamp there. So
yeah.
I think this guy was buying them from some.
Well, and it went from one dealer here to a dealer there.
Yeah, possibly.
Just so he could move stock, because like I said, there was a stigma to it. They wrote about it in the mid-level issues of Overstreet and stuff like that. They touch base on it, things like that, and the whole stigma of it's a reprint, it's a knockoff, it's stolen. People didn't want to touch it. But it's still cool. You still get the book. You can get that. You can get one of those, and still, in perspective numbers, you get those for $3 where the original was $30 back then. Well, now you can get those for $30 when the original, a beater copy's $500.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, that things like that fell into ballast books like you wouldn't believe.
I've got a couple of the pulps here that I picked up the other day as well. So I bought a whole batch of pulps. I've only got a couple here. I haven't got the H.P. Lovecraft one.
Oh, I'm gonna drool like fuck here.
That's really nice cover. That is You're All Alone by Fritz Lieber. Now, this is interesting because this story here, You're All Alone, is basically The Matrix.
Oh.
So the story is very like The Matrix, where some guy realizes that he's actually part of a big machine and he's the only one that realizes it. So it's like The Matrix before The Matrix was even thought of.
Who wrote it?
Fritz Lieber.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a god in science fiction. He's a god in science fiction.
Yeah. And this, of course, is the first printing of it.
Yeah.
Before it ever went into one of his books. It's like a novella, so it's about a third the length of a novel. He later puts it into a book.
Yeah.
Into a book.
Mark, you appreciate these things, so I'm going to put the bug in your ear again on this one. From 1926-27 to 1934-35, if you get any of those books inside there, especially like adventure, keep an eye out for Malcolm Wheeler Nicholson.
Oh, okay. Who's Michael Wheeler Nicholson?
He created DC Comics.
Oh, okay.
That is DC Comics.
And where will it have his name?
It usually on the cover, because he was a well-known. That's where he made his nut. He got out of the army and made his money as a fantasy writer. So, and especially on the credits page, but like he'll get credit on the cover just alongside those other guys.
Michael Wheeler Williams.
Malcolm Wheeler Nicholson.
Malcolm Wheeler Nicholson. Okay. Because I've got quite a few of those from that period of time.
From like 27 to 33, definitely. And all in pulps, and he did a ton of them. But I mean, you can look up and actually get a laundry list of what he did. But that'll add to the value of it, even though it's ticky-tack and it's a nerd like me that's going to know it. But like I just let go of a 1927 adventure for several $100 trade value. Because it right on the cover it says, it's a red cover. It says Malcolm Wheeler Nicholson.
Yeah, these things are worth a lot more if they've got a famous author contributing one of the stories.
Well, and you're hard pressed not to have a really good author in those, because man, those guys were good.
So let's cover that one, Mark. I like the cover.
Yeah, this one's a cover buy, so this one's worth money because of the cover.
Okay.
It's a skull cover, so people like this, and it's in pretty decent shape for its age because this is from 1939. So that's a cover. That was a cover buy, but I have picked up. I think I mentioned it to you guys. Two of the ones that came were the H.P. Lovecraft. What's it called?
Mountains of Madness.
Mountains of Madness. Yeah, the first printing of H.P. Lovecraft's Mountains of Madness.
And fewer people are alive to know who that was. For Lovecraft, for Nicholson, for all the insane amount of artists. I mean, R. Frank Paul came from the pulps, and he did the cover of Marvel #1. The writers, I mean, it was all the followers of H.G. Wells and Jules Verne.
Yeah.
And all the guys that led into the whole EC thing, and all those guys were influenced by it. You find a pulp of the Spider. Everybody who's had anything to do with Spider-Man will tell you that pulp of the Spider was very influential.
Hey, Tempest.
All right, guys.
Sorry, I was just in the middle of an intense game of Overwatch 2, and I didn't want to quit out on it.
But yeah, that is a sad thing, Mark. There's going to be less and less of a fan base for those.
HP Lovecraft.
They're dying off.
There's no problem with HP Lovecraft.
But even when you're losing fan base and they're dying off, it just means more people who have no clue what the hell it is are inheriting them. So you're still going to be able to get them for $5-10 a pop.
Yeah.
Because they just don't know what they have. The people that know what they are have their copies. So all those are going to fall right in that window where you'll be able to snatch a bunch of them up for under a tenner. And they're huge, huge books. I mean, it's got the first appearance of Flash Gordon, Tarzan, Buck Rogers, and they're all out there. And anybody who wants the Buck Rogers pretty much has it, because I've known 2 people in the last 5 years got the first Buck Rogers for under $100, and that's a $10,000 book. In bad condition, that's a $10,000 book.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and people keep inheriting these things and don't know what they have, so they're hitting the market again because people don't know they got them. So you familiarize yourself with the cover, and if it pops up, it's blood in the water for the sharks, but they're popping up because collectors are dying and people don't want to know the thing and don't know the backstory. And pulps are a hell of a rabbit hole to go down. But Robert, but just anybody, a who's who of science fiction wrote.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. They all
From the odds to the 50s, it's a who's who.
Say Tempest.
All of them, Mark.
Those are the only 2 I've got in front of me at the moment.
Right.
I'll bring some more next week. I'll bring the HP Lovecraft one this week.
And it's somebody look it up. The Matt Baker Western art.
Oh yeah, let me have a look at
Frontier.
that.
Maybe it's Cowgirls Frontier something. I thought somebody showed one that looked awful familiar, but that's where he was first started. So that could have early Matt Baker art in it, but that's where he started, was in those Westerns in the late 40s, early 50s.
Yeah, let me just look that up. So it's Frontier Romances, Avon, 1949.
My mate of mine back in the day, he actually sells at the Mart, London Mart. Like, he used to be in a band called Gore Rotted.
Oh no, we've spoken to him a couple of times, haven't we?
Yeah, you know him. Yeah, I thought I'd so introduce you. Yeah, he had a right good turn at a car boot sale. He posted up on a bunch on Facebook. He's got First Carnage, First Venom, like the ones around those ones as well. He got them for £2 each at the his local car boot sale. Jammy bastard.
Well, you've got to be in the right place at the right time. I mean, you've got to attend a lot of boot sales.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't go to any boot sales because I don't get a car to drive to one. So I can't drive if I did have a car. So never mind.
You'll say Tempest. You know that we was talking about the weird. Right? So you was right. Mystery in Space, Volume 2, issues 1 to 8, where Captain Comet dies, and then he's through some weird, how the way they put it anyway, comes in contact with the weird, as in the weird's essence.
Yeah.
It was like energy can't be destroyed kind of thing, and so they end up suddenly there's 2 of them, the weird and Captain Comet are both alive again. And that was like
Unfortunately, not Matt Baker.
And
popping up elsewhere.
Also, he was in the Rand Thanagar Holy War as well. I had the Rand Thanagar War. I've got that. I didn't have the Captain Comet, but I've ordered it.
I've got all that.
The story looked pretty good. So I thought, oh well, I'll get that. £14 it was. So
Rand Thanagar War, then it was Rand Thanagar Holy War. There was 2, wasn't there?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've got both of those.
You talk about an underrated dollar bin series, the weird series done by Starlin and Wrightson. I mean,
yeah, that's really good.
That's art on top of art on top of art.
Yeah, they're dollar bin books.
Yeah, and they're dollar bin books. But yeah, Mark, that, like I said, that may or may not have been Baker, and you see it's not Baker.
It's not
but
Baker,
keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
Because in that, again, it's that sweet spot, like 1947 to 53. Matt Baker was making his money working for Avon, Holyoke, and things like that, and basically learning how to do what he did in those westerns. So you can fluke into a $500 book.
Yeah, yeah.
Just by that, but it's one because most of them are dime a dozen.
Yeah.
But I can never remember. I know there's Cowgirl something and Cowpuncher something, but that's where you can find Matt Baker stuff. And
I'm surprised Darren hasn't got more, actually, because there's quite a lot of cowboy ones.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's where he made his nut, and it's in that window. And then when they finally figured out, then he got to the good girl stuff from 53 up, and everybody discovered it. But you can find those hidden in the back there.
So what comics are you getting paid in, Drew, for your work, for your slave work for
until it's open to the public, I ain't discussing any of it. And it's not about the comic books themselves, it's about monetary value and things. If Darren's comfortable in talking about it, we'll talk about it all day. If
you
not,
you can talk about it, no problem at all.
Okay, I was gonna say if it's
I can't imagine.
Doesn't really matter, but I got 640 pounds to play with.
Damn. Well done.
I think although many of the things that you found I would have noticed when I'm packing the comics. So that what happened was I've got a sort of spreadsheet with formulas that does checking of prices out there, and it basically assigns a price to a comic. So it's all done electronically. However, computers trying to read out what's out there not always get the right answer. Mostly they do, but sometimes they get a hiccup. For example, in the past, this program I've got put a value of about £3.95 on Uncanny X-Men 101 in high grade, which is the first Phoenix.
Yeah.
What is it?
I'll buy that one off you.
Dark Phoenix. So it should be a couple of £100 at least. Now that happened because when it was looking for something to get the price from, it found a reprint, a facsimile version of it. And so it said, oh, found it, £3.95, no problem. The computer has no concept to know that that's wrong. So that went into the list. So it takes a human being to find these errors. Now, obviously, if someone put that in an order, if that had made it to my shop and it had got into an order, I would be packing that comic and I'd go, oh, that's an obvious pricing error. I'm sorry, Mr. Customer, I'm going to have to disappoint you on this one. This is just a complete balls up. So that's the kind of thing that Carl's been looking for. And he found sufficient, I reckon he's probably found £15,000 worth of errors like that.
Are you ready? Brace yourself for this one. For £2.95 in near mint condition, Ultimate Fallout 4.
Well, that's a reprint thing again. So
yeah, that's $1,000 book. That's exactly, that's $1,000 book all day, every day, and going up all day, every day.
But again, that's the kind of thing where if it made it into an order, I'd immediately know that there's an error there. But what Kyle has done is, while I've been busy doing my sticking dots on comics, Kyle's done the price checking, which would have taken me, God knows, it's an endless task because I do not have the knowledge that Kyle has. So he's bringing expert knowledge to the task, and that's why it's worth a lot of money. It's a very skilled task.
I had to double back on one.
Phil just showed up backstage.
Well, I can think nobody better to do it than Mr. Magoo.
Yeah, I read some of his paid stuff because I had to create an account there and everything. Because I tried not to create one up to this point because it's just up till this point it was just daydreaming. It's just heartbreak. I can't add. I had to subtract, and I was reading some things and I'm like, wait. he talks about having an FF 48 and 50, and I've seen other books he has that I know of, and I brain farted the fact that he talked about CGC and some, but I went back to him and I'm like, hey, these aren't on here. And he told me, reminded me about the CGC thing, because there's a handful of those books that you just need to CGC them. Whatever condition they're in, keep them in that condition. If it's over $1,000, get it slabbed, because it's going to be over $1,000, and
there's actually quite a lot of stuff that's going to go on sale raw that could potentially warrant CGCing, and I've made the decision. Just, you know what, it's going to cost me a lot of money and a lot of time to get it CGC'd. Yeah. I'm going to give that to someone. I'm just selling it raw, and someone else can have all that hassle of paying up front.
So waiting. Okay, so how have you priced? Let's say you've got a fantastic 448 in, I don't know, a 50, right? Which is probably a $500 or $600 book in a CGC slab. How have you discounted the price from the CGC price?
I never look at CGC prices. I just let the computer go and take a price from wherever it can find, and then it just adjusts it with a percentage. If it finds one out there at very good or one at near mint and mine's at fine, it will calculate a percentage. Just to
is it looking at there's a close enough window and non-CGC sales?
No, well, yes and no. Like Mark, it's not. I'm being deliberately vague about it. Okay, so off camera, I'll tell you how it's done precisely.
Well, I know which company you use as a ground.
Well, that's what I was trying to avoid saying. But basically, if that place where it looks has got a CGC and not a CGC, then I delete the CGC record manually, so it only looks at the raws.
Okay.
And 99.9% of comic books, even the fancy ones, you get in a general grade range, and the bump's not that big from a very fine or whatever, unless you're talking like a near mint 1960s comic. Well, then it's going to spike dramatically, but it's not going to fluctuate that much. Like the average run of X-Men from 94 through Burns run, it's a couple quid here or there, graded or not. You're going to find graded ones. Say if it's a $50 raw book, you'll find graded ones for $100, but you'll find graded ones in that $50 range when they're raw and things like that. So it kind of stays. He's got it where it's inside that window of give or take. There's no dramatic jumps, except like if you hit a handful of books, if you're talking 9.2 above.
On June 21st to find all the raw copies that you should have got CGC'd.
And some are going to spike. Like I had to talk to him about. Some that, like, what he's working off of doesn't have movie spec for the past couple years on things that have since popped up that have caused him to spike, and they will stay up because they're major characters. And there's been a handful of those where even his reference material, they're just not caught up. They're not caught up to the most recent ones. Spec value, but again, my knowledge within the last 10 years of keys, forget about it. But things that are slightly older but are affected by movie things or appearances, or the character finally decided to take off, because most characters take 8 to 10 years to take off. Punisher didn't launch until, like, Punisher and Wolverine's really popularity didn't really kick off until the early 80s.
Can't tell them at all. Punisher and Wolverine are dead in the water at the moment. Punisher and Wolverine.
But like in the 70s, you still couldn't give them away, and then that Wolverine miniseries kind of spiked him for a while. The Punisher miniseries spiked him for a while in the mid 80s. And the key issues of that are still going to be important, but the rest of them are just throwaways. But like Spider-Man 129 is a money book, is always going to be a money book. Some of the key Wolverine issues are always going to be money bucks, but then the filler appearances just kind of fall off dramatically from what they did. Right. But the spike we're seeing now with these characters, like Miles Morales in the past couple of years, well, he first appeared in 2011, and it took till about 2021 to get his spike. So you got an 8 to 10 year window where these characters will pop up, and then they'll get their spike, and then they'll pop up in movies. And James Gunn is plucking all these random characters and making them bigger. Made the Guardians something, which again, standard Guardians issues, nickel and dime. But the important ones shot right through the roof, and they're not going down. And how many people are ever going to remember Marvel Superheroes 18? I've been hammering that gavel for 25 years. I'm like, you want a great book? Marvel Superheroes 18, great book. People were like, who gives a shit about the Guardians of the Galaxy? Well, then he decided to make a movie about them that had nothing to do with that original book. But holy crap.
The guy with the arrows in it.
Yeah. But then first couple Guardians books, the Marvel 2-in-1 number 5, their second appearance, their Marvel Presents run, spectacular books. Their crossover in Avengers 167 and 177, spectacular books. George Perez, great art, great story, cool as hell background. Undiscovered gems to most people. But
Did Eternals #1 go up by much after the film came out?
Crashed.
It went up the 2 months before, and then the minute people started seeing it, it went through.
And what about the first appearance of Madam Web? That
crashed? So a lot of these comics actually are now lower than they were before the movie. If it's a bad movie, it actually has the opposite effect.
Yeah. Well, and
let's hope the James Gunn Superman fails then.
And I don't care how stupid the Madam Web movie was. It had nothing to do with Madam Web from ASM 210. That was an old woman in a thing. That was the character 60 years after whatever they did that stupid movie of.
Not really a character you can make a movie out of, though, is she?
Very much so. But they just shed on it. They absolutely shed on that movie.
Well, I mean, Thunderbolts had nothing to do with the comics, really, did it? So I've been told. I mean, I've never read Thunderbolts, but
it did. It's the bad guys gone good concept.
No, I'm talking about
the principle was you pick a load of sort of slightly bad guys and put them together and make a team of superheroes.
I enjoyed the film, but I mean,
there have been variations of those characters in the more recent Thunderbolts from the 2010s up. They've all dipped their toe in it. John Walker and stuff, he's dipped his toe in it. The original Thunderbolts idea had nothing to do with it. But like I said, it's the same thing as the Guardians. They're plucking these stories from like the earliest was 2006, but most of the stories they're pulling from like 2010, 2011, 2015. The Secret Wars, they're not pulling from the 1984. They're pulling from the 2015 story. You know, they're going to try and pepper things in regards to that, but they're making it the modern stuff instead.
See, I'm not familiar with the later Secret Wars. I don't know what it's. I'm obviously familiar with the original one, but not the one that's supposed to be used.
And they're going to pepper in concepts and stuff, but the Eternals. I mean, that was true enough to the original concept where it wasn't a bad movie. It just wasn't a good movie. It wasn't a good standalone movie. And the Eternals was Jack Kirby stuff. If you don't like Jack Kirby Fourth World stuff, you're going to hate the Eternals. It's high concept.
Again, it's not one of those films that I enjoyed, but because I didn't know anything about the Eternals.
Well, because it's true to form. It's true to it's honestly, it's a good movie for comic transcription. It's just not a good movie.
I mean, if anything, it got me Angelina Jolie and Salma Hayek action figures anyway.
Yeah, and it's just endless wasted potential. Endless wasted.
There's an upside to everything.
Yeah, and even they were very cheap.
I must be easily pleased because I liked it.
But yeah, I mean, if you like Thor 299 and 300, if you like Thor 299 and 300, you're gonna love the Eternals movie. And if you like the Eternals movie, read Thor 299 and 300. It's the ultimate celestial story.
But to say, as far as Eternals was concerned, the other actress that was in it was in Humans, wasn't she? I can't think of her name. It was in a TV series called Humans.
Oh yeah, now's the time to pick up Eternals 1 ABZ Comics. It's now about half the price it was before the movie.
Yeah.
Well, Rob Fatch, I mean, he's collecting all of them like in 9.4, 9.6s, isn't he? In all the Eternals in slab form because of the low prices of them.
Yeah. But if you like space opera, then it's all good. But again, it's niche. It's always going to be like a $30 book. It always should be like a $30 on slab. It should always be like a $30 book. You know, Eternals 1 is key for all the first appearances and stuff. And it's a 1970s Kirby, and it's his last big world build.
Mm.
Plenty of reasons to love it, but it'll always be mid to low key level stuff.
I didn't think much of it as a kid. I found it really boring when I was a kid.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, most people find it boring. If you like space opera, you'd love it. So, generally, it's more for the Star Trek space opera than the Star Wars space opera. But and then anybody with any sense, which Mark is kicking it into high gear, will notice that these things streamed from the pulps and the ideas from then, and you just keep digging back in time.
Mm.
And eventually you're going to find where the seed was first planted again with Jules Verne and H.G. Wells and things like that. But those guys, the books you were pulling out there, those pulps, Mark, I'm just sitting here drooling. And most people would be like, because it's got like 2 etchings in it. The story might have 2 etchings, 2 images. And then it's dialogue heavy.
Yeah, that's right. It's dialogue. It's basically it's mainly it's like science fiction novels. You've got a whole Fritz Leiber novel. I mean, occasionally you get sort of pages of art.
And those are brilliant. But those are either wood cuttings or etchings that were done in those. And to me, they're just brilliant. But to most people, it's like, man, who wants to read all that crap just for one picture?
This one makes me laugh because there's 2 people here with laser guns, but one's throwing a brick at the other one.
And then you're in the early 50s.
Break to the head.
What is that, like 1952, 53?
50s, 59, that one.
59? That's surprising it went that late. But
is that 2 shillings, Tenders?
But that was also their peak, really. I mean, they kind of peaked.
2 shillings.
It was expensive, wasn't it? Back in the 1950s. Yeah.
They peaked in the early 20s and then in the late 50s, early 60s. And then they just got phased out. TV killed most of it.
Well, I think a lot of it was mainly science fiction. It was really the sort of birth of the science fiction craze, and it moved to books, didn't it? People like Heinlein and Asimov, Arthur C. Clarke, originally appearing in these things, but then they put together novels and books, and then
they're considered the grandfathers or the godfathers of the genre.
Yeah.
But then if you look at history, they're not even close, because the Egyptian gods and the sun god Ra and all that stuff. This stuff's been going on since Gilgamesh, since man could write down words that can be translated. They've been looking up at the stars going, here it comes. What's going to be out there? What is it? It's the gods. And they're just fireside tales we've been telling for millennia.
Shall I show you what a wonderful week I've had?
Oh, you're going to show some of your lovely stickers, Darren. Oh.
These are my dots.
But, yeah.
This is what I've been doing all week. and I'll show you what I'm doing with them. So,
what's happened to your nice ones that say GD and F on them?
Yeah. And something I can say with looking at Darren's thing that made me so happy is I've only ever done like a wish list once, and it's on a couple pieces of paper sitting in there, and it's within the last couple of years. And in doing this with him, I'm able to check off like 18 to 20 books off a want list of about 100 that to me are key. So what I did earned me a stack of my want list books that I've been wanting, I've had on my list for years, but I've been wanting for decades. So I'm happy.
Good.
You know, I'm really happy. I get to move the needle on a list I didn't think could move. God damn.
So where are the little dots? Where are the little dots then? Because I can just see your normal stickers.
Right. So this is I've got 4 copies of this comic in very fine pence. And so the way it works is the first copy has no dot on it because basically that's the no dot version.
Right.
The next comic has a blue dot. Can you see it?
Yeah.
And then the next one, a green dot. The next one, a red dot. And there's another colour dot, a yellow dot.
So wait a minute. What on earth are they? What's the function of those then? Why aren't they just all 4 the same thing?
So in the past, I would have listed this on my site as X-Men 110, very fine pence, 4 in stock, and there would be 1 photograph.
Right.
And I would choose the comic that you would get if you ordered one of those.
Right.
In the new system, each one of these comics will have a photo and a separate product on the shop. So you'll see all 4 of them as separate products, and you can choose which one you want to buy. And your order will then say that you bought the X-Men very fine pence blue dot. You got the blue dot. And so then I'll go downstairs and I'll find the blue dot one and put that in your order. And then that blue dot one then disappears from the site completely because there's only 1 in stock and it's now gone.
Nice.
Now, what this does is I've been wanting to do this for ages, but it's a big investment, obviously, and I had to find a sort of system to do it. What it enables people to do is some people, when it comes to near mint comics, there's no difference, not really anyway. When it comes to anything less than near mint, there's a difference. You know, it's sometimes the downgrade is a price sticker on the cover, sometimes it's writing, sometimes it's water damage, but they can all be in the same grade. So the person can look at the photo and decide, in conjunction with the notes that I put on, because, you know, the notes as well, this is another reason I did it. I write notes on a lot of comics that are lower grade.
Yeah.
Some people, that note is unique to that particular comic. So if that happened if I had 4 of them in stock and you saw that photo, you wouldn't, that note obviously doesn't apply to the other 3 of them. So it might put people off buying them, or it might turn people on to buying them. But 3 out of 4 purchases of this comic would lead to disappointment because it's the note doesn't represent the comic. So therefore, nowadays, the note is specific to the single comic you will buy. So it gives people the choice to read the notes and to look at the visual comic themselves. And there's another one. Now, let's see which of you canny shoppers can think this through. I'm not going to tell you the whole story to see if you can make the jump. Where can you make a killing or some money using my dot system on the shop? There is an opportunity. Kyle's the most likely to get it.
I'm just trying to shut up. That's a book on my wish list that I skipped over, and it's killing me watching you fan 4 of them.
I'll take it.
So hello, Bill. So the opportunity lies in very common variations that I don't distinguish in price currently, and never have done, between newsstand and direct. And I still don't distinguish in price. And I still don't list it as newsstand or direct on the shop. But the customer will be able to see from the individual photo if it is newsstand.
Oh, that's two things I need to go through and solve for.
And I don't mind. If you want to buy newsstands or directs, I don't mind. I'm happy to. I know that there's a price differential, but the price differential for me is not worth the time investment today, not today, to get it sorted.
Yeah.
And
In the future, maybe.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Did you take out did you rip out all the Mark Jewelers inserts?
Yes, they're all ripped out and put them on a bonfire, yeah. Yeah,
they're all annotated. They're annotated properly. It's really smart the way he's got it done. Now, something with those 110s, that predates that real newsstand jump anyway, but from late 78 to early 81, so basically 79 and 80 particular, that's where the newsstands make a big jump, the value in the newsstands, because that's when it actually it just did a complete flip, because everything back then was newsstand, and like that X-Men 110, that was what, 1977, so you're before the jump. But like in 1979, it really started switching. In 80, it really flipped up.
Yeah, so on the newsstand ones, it's from about 81 through to about 84, Kyle, before they put the dual pricing in, before they did the...
No, they started dual pricing in 81.
Yeah, but so...
For UK and things like that.
Yeah,
no, it really depends.
The newsstand stuff, the newsstand ones between... Well, it's basically after 81, isn't it?
I mean, yeah. Now, I can't tell you this much.
The Mark Jewelers started way earlier, though, right, Kyle? Like early 70s?
Mark Jewelers is 70s, but that's all.
Okay.
If it's Mark Jewelers, it came off a military base. It's just that simple. There is one thing I do want to annotate, since you're talking about this, and write this down, Darren. I shit you not. Write this down, because you just said that.
I've got it.
There is one load of books where you're going to want to make a price differential in a newsstand. And I just talked about it. That Wolverine miniseries 1 through 4, that first issue, it's double price. It's literally double the price in a newsstand, because there's like 5 to 10% of the run.
Can you stop telling him these things, please?
No, keep telling me. I've paid him. This is my price. He's on the payroll.
Well, I have to tell you, we doubled our price on the Jubilee first appearance with the Mark Jewelers insert, and people.
Yeah, that's not worth double.
Well,
X-Men 244 and a Mark Jewelers.
The other day, and we almost
10 to 20% on a Mark Jewelers is probably more logical.
No, I know, but there were some on several of the sites, maybe even my comic shop, that they were actually selling at $250 rather than $125.
That's a huge market. That's you think of the American PXs. There were tens of thousands of them that went.
And where do I live, Kyle?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You're in a
I
test
live in
market.
San Antonio. We're called Military City because we have more bases
around military
than any other city in the
bases. It's a test market.
So
that's something else you'll notice about test markets, Bill, is they were around military cities because they'd already had the built market for that.
There was an ethnic diversity in military towns, so you would get a much better read on all the different races at the time that they tracked, and San Antonio had people of all colors, and they included them in the way they did that, or the way they approached it rather.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, Darren, for the most part, it's such a niche market. Even though they were very, very, very limited. I mean, right up till like 92, 93, the first few Image issues, there's like 5% of them, like a Spawn #1 and with a
newsstand
UPC code on it is 5 times as much as a non-UPC one.
Mark,
but it's real
the same
niche.
ratio as British comics. They got sent to the UK, I think, 5%.
Yeah.
The problem is,
it's small numbers.
You really have to know what you're looking at. You'd have to be able to spot them.
But the only ones
100 freaking %.
I currently do kind of know what to look for, but the time investment required to label them up and treat them as different products yet again is just that extra level of input.
That's why I'm saying there's so few that are worth doing that with. But I'm telling you right now, double check that Wolverine series.
Well, I might,
that's a key.
Kyle. I might when they go on the shop, I might bring you in again and give you access to my website in the back door for you to check for newsstands that need changing.
No, don't
but
do
there's
that, Karen.
just so
I'll
few.
buy
I mean,
them.
there's just
once
so
you've not
few.
priced correctly, I'll just buy them from you.
Well, I'll have to cancel the order then, Mark, because I'll spot them when I'm shipping them, and then we'll fall out, obviously.
I think there's something, if you advertise something for sale, it's a price, and I buy it.
You really need to let your biggest customer have first dibs. I'm just saying.
Terms and conditions clearly stated.
But I mean, there's just a select few, and again, you got a certain window. The 77 to 81, when Marvel went to like direct market with Khazar, Micronauts, and Moon Knight, you got that window there, and then throughout the 80s into the early 90s, that's the junk era. It's all junk. It doesn't really matter. No one cares. It's so much junk with an occasional key splattered in. You know, sure, maybe it'd be nice to have X-Men 266, the newsstand, but you're still kind of in that 50-50 ballpark.
I do know I do know that because this came up on the show when I was showing them at some point in the past. I know I've got a newsstand, New Mutants 98, and someone had mentioned the price on that one, but I can't remember if it's in my CGC pile. It could even be over there. Hold on.
And again, it's a big book, but
That's
it's not going to make that.
Yeah,
it's a big book, but it's not going to make that big of a jump. It's a jump, but you're not going to lose any sleep over the difference.
I don't know. The Mark Jewelers have gone way through the roof lately, Kyle. It's a whole new
and that's flavor of the day, but people just don't know. I mean, it's like Whitman's. I have to keep explaining the Whitman's. Marvel used them as distribution in the Midwest. Whitman's were as common could be for Marvel. For DC, they weren't. That's why the DCs are so limited. DC was penny pinching. That's why DC did it less overseas. That's why they did less.
Right. But even if people don't know, Kyle, right, it doesn't matter whether they do know or they don't know. All that matters is whether they want it and we're prepared to pay the money for it.
Now, if you ever see it, it's a printing error, but you'll never see a Whitman variant with a Mark Jewelers in it. You'll never see it. If it happens, it's a printing error. It's a print shop error, but you won't see it because it was printed, marketed, it's two separate entities.
And you'll never see a Jewelers in a pence copy.
Yeah, you will.
Why?
Rendlesham.
That's pretty UK bases.
There were UK bases, Rendlesham and all that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's a major. Rendlesham is a major.
There's quite a few.
Well, I've never seen rare. I've never seen a Jewelers in a pence. Never. And I buy that kind of stuff.
You won't see many of them, but also
you're asleep at the wheel then, Darren. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, they'll print them. They'll print them in the States and ship them out to there. But there's going to be overlap because I think
they put the Jewelers in a cent price copy and sent them to the bases in the UK.
Yeah,
the UK ones went to the UK newsagents, the pence prices.
Right.
I think that a Jewelers is impossible to find in a pence copy.
Oh, I'm going to have to check some of my jewelry.
I do think they exist, though.
I do think
it's a good topic to check, and because I'd love to know. Yeah. I've been using this assumption for ages. I would love to know if it's the truth.
I used to live near Mildenhall, and I had some friends, American friends. I used to go and play Dungeons and Dragons at Mildenhall. Yeah. And whenever we went into the commissary, it was all in dollars.
Yeah.
Not in
I mean, with that, you just got to think of simplicity with that. You know, did the overlap? Because I told you about the printing process. For the UK ones, they were the first off the press. They had to change the dye or whatever like that. So they might not have gone through that trouble, but I wouldn't see why there wouldn't be overlap because they'd also roll right into.
But it's going to be
these are going to be printed for bases.
I don't think it is because think of it from an American printer's point of view. We're sending these American comics to our boys in our US base. They got to be priced in cents or they won't understand the price.
Yeah. But and you can do simple numbers, and I'm telling you, I got firsthand knowledge.
You used to be able to get a case of Budweiser for $5.
Yeah, the biggest comic book nerds of Americans that I knew of in the 70s and 80s were military guys. Utter comic book. We would walk post and have discussions about who would make the best Professor X in a movie. The minute Patrick Stewart popped up on Star Trek: The Next Generation, general consensus, Patrick Stewart should have been Professor X. That was a fanboy's wet dream 20 years later when it happened. But like the most brutal, I've been in 1,000 comic book shops, and you always get the classic DC Marvel arguments. It's so old hat, I don't even argue with you British guys that swear by DC. I think that's ridiculous, but whatever. The most absurd arguments and just brutal knockdown drag out arguments I ever had was which is better, Marvel or DC. We're walking post in the military. You could kill 4 hours justifying Marvel versus DC, and your head is on a fucking swivel. I could get shot and my head is on a swivel. I got to keep my wits about me. Fuck you, Marvel's better than DC. Fuck you, DC's better than Marvel. Didn't miss a beat, but could go on for 4 hours walking a post. Now, mind you, somebody's walking around the building this way, somebody's walking around the building that way. These conversations would happen in 10-second increments every minute. Fuck you, Marvel. Fuck you, DC. Fuck you, Marvel. Fuck you, DC. And it would go on for hours and days, and these things would come to PXs, and, you know, I got familiar with the stamp and why they put the stamp on there. And, like, on Japanese books that come out of Japanese PXs would be the star stamp, generally, or the US stamp.
At least you were on the right side there, Kyle. Big supporter of DC, as we know.
Huh? What would you say before big supporter of DC?
I was saying you were obviously on the right side, big supporter of DC.
Yeah, no.
If you will indulge me, I have a favour to ask. While we're on the subject of, while it's the right timing as well, because my launch will probably happen, what's the date today? Like the 6th of June or something?
Yeah, 5th.
So I'm hoping that about 2 to 3 weeks from now, I think I'm actually really going to do it. And so I need to send an email out to my customers around about 3 weeks from today, 2 to 3 weeks from today. And so I've already in concept got loads of notes about what needs to go in that email. But Mark, you said a sentence 3 months ago, and it's been bugging me ever since. And to come back to you and ask you more detail, because when I got off the show and thought about that sentence, I thought what Mark just said is really important from a marketing perspective. So I throw it open to all of you, because all of you can have some kind of an input here that may be really important for me. But the sentence you said, Mark, was no one else is doing what you're doing at Splat Comics. The problem is there's so many possible things that could be part of that set of. What I need to know is, in your guys, all of you, but Mark in particular, because you said the sentence, what is it in particular that is behind that sentence of you're the only person doing this, so that I might use some snippets in the email to say I am unique because.
Okay, so the first thing I would talk about, well, one of the things I would highlight is I would take those 4 X-Men comics and I would have a little thing about a page that said how each of those is listed separately. Yeah. Yeah. And when you buy one of these, you buy the one that you see the photograph of. Yeah. I think that's pretty unique. I'm not sure.
I think so too. Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, that will appeal to quite a lot of collectors. Yeah. Yeah. So the actual photograph I'm seeing from this shop, he's got 4 copies, and I can pick which one I want based on the photograph.
On that exact point, I know when I used to collect, I honestly would, when I used to collect, I would sit in the shop and I would pick up, this is brand new stuff that was coming out, I would pick up the pile of 5 Batman 427s or whatever, and I would inspect them carefully, and I would choose the one I wanted out of 5 almost identical copies. Well, these photos, I can imagine customers spending hours choosing the one they want. I really can.
Yes, yeah. So that's unique. The other thing that's unique is the huge range of stock, right? That's going to hit the market at the same time. Now, Silver Age got a good range of stock, but it's been out there for some time. It's not new, and their prices are a bit high, and you priced yourself slightly lower than Silver Acre.
Actually, yes. And so on that point there, I did actually go back and check the formula in my pricing system, and it's 90. I priced it at 90%.
Yeah, fine. So if somebody's looking for a copy, they go and check the 2 places they're likely to find it in the UK. Once you've actually got to load your stock up, is Silver Acre in you. Yeah. I mean, there are other places with back issue stock, but they're not that comprehensive.
Well, the other thing is, just to pick up on what you just said, is that you know that I bought a lot of these in that auction, the big auction, and so these, all of this lot here, it's never been on sale to collectors before, because this is usually bought at source.
Yes, that's another point to make. There's a whole load of stuff. You should bullet point these things.
Oh, I know. It's going to be a 6-week-long read.
You don't want to do that. People lose.
I know. I'm going to bullet it at the start and say this is this is already drafted on paper actually, but it'll say, look, apologies for the long email. It's been 18 months since I've written. Here's the bullets of what's contained in here, and if you want to read the detail, go down bullet by bullet.
Yeah.
I know you think I'm nuts, but I would put a flashing banner on anything from the Frank Dobson collection. I would just highlight the shit out of that.
That's not actually in here, Kyle.
When it goes in.
When it goes live,
potentially.
Because I'd like to buy straight from the collection.
Guys, I'm whatnotting, so I'm going to have to disappear.
Bye, Mark.
Cheers, Mark.
I didn't see anything on Whatnot, so obviously I'm not going to be there, but...
okay. Well, if you want to join later, Kyle, you are in as the moderator.
Yeah, I'll pop up when we wrap up here if you're still going.
Is Tempest still around, or did he disappear?
No, he left, so I could come back on.
Oh, okay.
Oh well, if now there's a space, if he's still listening,
yeah, bring him back. Bring him back. Bring him back. Bring him back. Bring him back.
Darren, if you want to show comics, man, that'd make me happy as a pig in shit.
Here, I want to show something first, if I could.
I don't really have anything to show anyway.
Anytime you can. Here I come. But
what's up in there?
So, Steve, aka Tempest, sent me this and 2 other comics. This has been a grail of mine for at least 30 years. It's got
did you figure out he gave him your address?
Huh?
Mark?
No, I never figured out how he got it.
Well, it was obviously one of the guys here.
I thought. You know, maybe there's another way. I don't know.
My guess is it would have been Mark. Mark ships book.
Yeah, I don't think it was Mark, because I talked to Mark and I don't think it was him either, which kind of freaked me out. But
Tempest is MI6.
We'll figure it out somehow. But that's that one. Let me show these other 2, because one of my favorite customers just walked in. So he threw this in, which I'd never heard of that story before, which freaked me out.
That's an Aussie one.
And then...
And another Aussie one.
Nice.
Isn't that great? Fantastic stuff. Well, guys, I'm gonna take off.
Your sound's gone funny.
He's gone IG88.
Guys, have a great day, and I'll talk to you on next
week. Sound's gone completely now, Bill.
He's saying see you later. So your sound's gone.
Get into a Dalek.
Yeah. He's gone Dalek.
Terry, you haven't said much tonight. What have you got to tell us?
Not a lot.
Put you straight on the spot there.
No,
Any pile of comics beside you?
Oh, I've always got piles of comics beside me. But as I say, I can show you a few if you like, if you haven't seen these ones before. Oh. Did you watch the Dresden Files?
No, didn't even know what. I don't even know what it is.
With Jim Butcher's Dresden Files. I mean, he writes lots of novels, but they also did a big comic series. Some of them are brand new, and others are novelizations.
Is that Source Point Press?
Is that Source Point Press?
No, I think that's Crusade, isn't it?
It comes from Dabble Brothers, the comic company.
That's the corner box up there?
Yeah, Dabble Brothers.
Looks Dabble. Like Source Point Press.
Dabble, D-A-B-E-L.
Was that not a TV show, Dresden Files?
It has been a TV show, but it's to say mainly that these are adaptations of his novels. And I mean, he's adapted his own novels into comic books.
Isn't it like a big warehouse that stores supernatural artifacts or something weird like that?
No, it's Warehouse 13 you're thinking of, no.
Here's Tempest, yay!
So what's the Dresden Files then?
He, similar to like you just said about Warehouse 13, this guy is a magician's a bit of a weak word, but he's like a magician, but difficult to.
Real magic or stage magic?
Yeah, he's sort of magical. No, not stage magic. Sort of magical as far as he's got this stick that he can push his power through. And,
he's Gandalf.
So he's like John Constantine, isn't he? Is he like John Constantine?
In a sense, yeah. I must be honest. It's such a long time since I've read these. Now, I've got them here because these are in the box. I've got the X-Files in. I've just done me sort of like the latest X-Files video, but to say there was lots. I mean, I've got all of the novels. I mean, I think there was about 16 or 18 of those, and they adapted a lot of the novels. But they have done some original ones as well. But they're all written by Jim Butcher.
Okay.
Very cool. So, Steve, I don't know if you were watching while we were switching over and Bill went all Dalek and faded out. How'd you get his address off one of the fellas here or UMI6?
He put it me in the chat.
And he forgot about it.
He told himself and he forgot.
Yeah, that's even funnier.
I was on the stream a couple of weeks ago when I asked him for it.
Yeah. I still think it was funnier you were MI6 or full money, but
I would say what an idiot. I would say what an idiot, but I've added Tempest on my Facebook. I didn't even remember.
I just put Bill America and he got there eventually.
It would do. He's very well known.
Well, you said you weren't on Facebook.
I didn't think he was.
I am on Facebook. I'm just not on it on a daily basis.
So what are you on Facebook as?
Some fake
under my real name.
Huh?
Under my real name.
Under your real name?
I thought Tempest was your real name. I don't know.
I jumped off of Facebook completely, but I kept Messenger open. But I can't even open Facebook links anymore because I shut all that down. Man, that looks like a late 90s, early 2000s, like Chaos Comics or stuff like that. That's cool.
Yeah, now it's Dynamite that are doing these, but it changed over from Babel to.
Got Terry's package here. I'm going to send it tomorrow. Darren might recognise the paper it's wrapped in.
What? That's the Star Wars rare paper.
Well, it's going to Terry.
That's £600 a sheet.
There's Kyle's package that's going to be sent to him. Full of rubbish British comics mainly.
How much is that costing you to send it to Kyle? Because I get horrific rates for the US.
I'm gonna send it by fucking sea mail, mate. I don't fuck about with air mail. Send it by sea. Takes fucking 8 weeks, but it costs half the price.
Blimey.
Yeah, I'm not worried about pretty mailing things, even though I gotta get a return off my Sarajevo package. I'm giving it till Monday, and if it doesn't get to me, I'm getting my money back for that. Because it's taken 6 weeks.
I think it was 20 odd quid to send those comics to Bill.
That's a nice cover.
That's kind of what I figured. Darren, with like 18 bucks, it'd be 20 quid. So I just got to bump off 20 quid off my one.
Let me just find out. Let me just do a quick search while Terry's showing them.
Yeah, they did these like 4-issue miniseries, 6-issue miniseries, 8-issue miniseries. All depended on how long the book was. It came out sporadically.
Actually, Kyle, it is not far from that. Yeah.
That's what I figured. 18 to 22 pounds. I just have to suck it up and let go of one of those books. It just makes me sad.
It's like a 21 to 27 pound at the current rates.
Yeah. And if you can mail it cheaper, but
no, there's no option to mail it cheaper. That is the cheapest.
Yeah. It kind of bums me to think about it, but I already know what I'm gonna bump. You know, I'll take the X-Men and Surfer.
It's £1 a book. It's actually not too bad. It's £1 a book.
Well, that puts me at 18 pounds then, so.
Yeah, but it's not £1 a book. It's more.
Yeah, it's in
that was just a rough math.
So I know I can bump off the newer ones and not bat an eye. So I just got to figure out which older ones to let go of.
You remember the film Bill and Ted?
Yeah.
Come up to that. Bill and Ted are doomed.
Do you have the original Marvel series of that?
I didn't know there was one, to be honest with you.
Yep. If it wasn't so much shipping, I'd say ship them over here and I'll get them signed by Alex Winter for you, but it's just too costly to do it.
Yeah.
Don't think I could ever land a Keanu autograph. That'd have to be a random circumstance, but I know exactly where to mail those to get them autographed.
What year did those come out, Terry?
These ones, I can't remember now. It wasn't that long ago. About 2020, I think. But,
there's at least an issue 1. There might be an issue 2 of Bill and Ted, but late 80s, there's a Marvel Comics.
Yeah, I think I've got one issue of the Marvel.
Yeah,
Marvel ones.
2020, yeah. December 2020.
Well, I think the Marvel one came out the same time as the movie. But I've been sitting on mine for 20 years and never did mail it off to California to get signed. I've just been half-assing it.
Presents Death. And then Bill and Ted's Excellent Holiday Special. Bill and Ted's Day of Dead, or the Dead.
But yeah, that's always one of my favorite Small World stories. If you look up pictures of Alex Winter at movie premieres, the bald guy that looks like us that he's standing with in a lot of those pictures, his name's Scott Vandiver. I helped him lose his virginity when we were in high school.
This is just a weird series. This is the miniseries came out, and they had the 4 issues, and then there was a new miniseries coming out, but they kept using the same covers as advertising, and it happened for about a year. But that series never ever came out. But they still carried on using that cover as an advert for it, which was weird.
If it was easy to get to, I'd go grab mine, but they're buried in God knows what box now.
I've got that F.A.R.T.s comic that came out to time with the film. Well, it's an adaptation of the film, isn't it?
Oh.
Have you seen F.A.R.T.s?
Freaks, no.
That's one of Alex Winter's films.
Yeah, no, I haven't. I must be honest.
Freaked or Freaks?
Freaked.
Freaked. Okay. Thought you were talking about Todd Browning's Freaks for a second.
No, I've got the Freaks comics as well. Yeah.
Sometimes showing these, I'm trying to think of how to explain Dresden. As I say, he's a character that he's magical. I mean, I suppose like sort of the Doctor Strange kind of magical. And after that, he is somebody that is against who the powers to be, his powers to be, are, and so therefore he's a black sheep of that society. But he's too good. I mean, they are, in some stories they're always sending people to kill him, but because he's so good at his job, they change their minds. And then because there ends up being some kind of monster or atrocity that's happening, and they feel that only he can, can solve it, and so therefore they leave off trying to kill him, and they let him get on with it. And he's been literally to hell and back more than once, sort of thing. But, it's about the best way to describe him, I think.
Terry, if the thought that counts matters to you, since it's not feasible financially for me to ship across the country and then out of the country, but if the thought counts, I'd in my heart, I already put together a box of like 20 comics for you, including a run of X-Files and those signed X-Files. I'd have shipped that Bill and Ted book of mine over to California, got it signed to you from Alex Winter, got it sent back to me and sent it to you. In my heart, I did all that and I sent it to you. Out of my pocketbook, I can't, but in a heartbeat, I would do that in better circumstance.
Thanks very much.
In better circumstance, but I can't pull it off. But if I would be willing to. If this was 10 years ago, I would have done it.
That's why you're all on Action Comics #1.
If it were 10 years ago, I would have done it without batting an eyelash. I wouldn't even ask you. I would have got your address or shipped it to Mark or whatever and just said send that to Terry. But yeah, I'm in a pickle now. I can't do that. And then they just screwed up the shipping rates. So all that got crashed out in the last 10 years.
Well, Kyle, I mean, if you got that sort of stuff together, let me know how much it would cost carriage-wise.
No. Yeah. I'd never take shipping. I'd never take shipping costs. If I could still pull it off, I'll do it. But I just don't know if I could pull it off now. I could pull off shipping that book to Alex, but again, it's like $5 there, $5 back. Take about a month to get it, but.
Do you reckon he'd sign it of some? Just on a random?
Where his mail gets sent is to my old high school buddy. He's the guy that filters that shit. He's the rep that says, all right, I've got this. You need to sign 100 things, and this needs to go here. The guy that does it is a guy I've known since like 1979, who I helped lose his virginity. And again, it's just a small world thing. Kid went out to California to chase his dreams, couldn't make it as an actor, became an agent, landed Alex Winter while he was at CCA, and now he's his regular client in his regular business. But it's the age-old story,
his will.
10,000 people go out to California to make it. 10 people make it. 9,990 become agents, gophers, runners, showrunners, or whatever. The ones that stay keep doing it, and the ones that give up go back home. So, story as old as Hollywood. Kid had acting chops, could do all kind of stuff, but when you're up against Brad Pitt,
and the real unlucky ones lose their virginity to you.
And again, I mean, I know plenty of people that have gone to Broadway. I know plenty of people that have gone out to Hollywood. They make their way doing other things, A couple of them appeared on America's Got Talent.
Character.
Little thing. So.
Yes. Very Joker-esque, isn't it?
But all the people I know that have gone to Broadway, their big credits are, you know, background singers in decent plays and things like that. No one ever hit the big break that they deserved. Now, I know a lot of musicians, but again, you got to like the music. If you don't like the music, then it's pointless. But, you know, I can drop certain band names, and it's like I can call them anytime I want, but most people, 98% of the populace just doesn't give a shit.
Where's the film from? Have anybody got this one? Got this Tempest or Grey? So, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. To say this
that's a great cover.
Yeah, that's what the film's going to be based on.
That is a great cover. That looks like a really good series.
It's a very good film.
They started filming the film yet, or is it one of them ones you might lose?
No, I think we'll be doing this one. I think
they're either in pre-production or just started filming.
Didn't that woman film get practically finished? Didn't they fucking panned it?
Batgirl, yeah, but I think it was kind of pile of cack that they didn't.
It was supposedly terrible, wasn't it?
Yeah, supposedly.
Well, they still brought out Catwoman.
I mean, this.
I mean, bring it out. Made.
Tom King. Well, it's Tom King, isn't it? That wrote it, yeah. Tom King. I mean, he's basically said it's True Grit. It's Supergirl in True Grit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seen True Grit.
Yeah, you guys over in England.
You get more money for a tax write-off, didn't they, than they'd make at cinema?
Yeah.
Well, why don't they put it on Netflix or something? I don't get it. It's weird.
Well, they can't. As Deborah said, they can't do it now because otherwise they get sued, don't they?
Yeah.
Do they?
The tax back.
Yeah.
It'll be one of those that it'll turn up at some point, surely.
My favourite part about this story is that the obviously Supergirl came from Argo City, and in like Supergirl 252, there's like 2 frames about Argo City. In this, they really flesh it out, and about the origins of Argo City and that sort of thing. And I think I really enjoyed that part about it.
Did they line all the streets with lead to stop the kryptonite from killing them?
Well, I mean, there was that kind of thing was being done, but it was the case. It's going to be in 2 frames, as I said, like they had in 252. It was like 3 or 4 pages, that told you, about more about the origin, the way they fleshed it all out. It was a lot more interesting.
But like you guys over there in England, if you go pub crawling, I don't know where exactly Pinewood Studios is. But you go pub crawling around Pinewood Studios, you get all kind of answers as far as projects that have been leveraged and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've been to Pinewood Studios because they do a lot of recording there at TV movies.
Where is it? Is it Byron Wood or something like that?
Yeah. Several times because this is before she was ill. She loved going to all these sort of TV, the TV series to see it live. And they had lots of different things on there, different shows that we used to go and see. And we go and see Tipping Point live, go and see Chase live.
Yeah.
I can't think of a more fun afternoon than going to see Tipping Point live.
Yeah, that's all the sort of program she said. But actually, funnily enough, it is actually quite fun to watch because it's really people are so nice there.
Yeah.
You get to meet all of them because it was the celebrity one. It was the celebrity.
They have a crowd warm-up act as well to get the crowd going.
The celebrity one was the only one that had an audience at the time. I don't know how they do it now. But
Tipping Point drives me crazy.
Before COVID, this was. The celebrity one was always the one with an audience. Because she was in a wheelchair, we was always down the bottom, so you was always close to the stars, if you like.
It's one of my favourite shows, right? But it drives me crazy because there is only one precise timing when you should drop that coin, right? And anyone who used to go to the seaside on the 1 and 2p coin shoot arcades, anyone who did that knows the timing. So every gran and every granddad taught their grandkids how to do this, right? How many frigging people don't know the timing? And it's especially women. Women don't think spatially, right? When women think, well, I want the coin to hit the bottom when the thing is like gone out, so I'll wait for it to go out and then I'll put it in. No, That's the complete opposite of what you should do.
The thing is,
I don't think I've ever watched that show all the way through.
The thing is, when you watch it, when you go there, they actually show them how to use it,
including the timing.
They show them, yeah. They show them how to use it.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't do it.
I mean, obviously, I don't know about the normal people, normal part. I don't know about the celebrities because I've only seen ones with. We went there about 3 times. I've only seen the ones with the celebrities, but the celebrities they do show. They give them a quick little, this is how you do it.
And then the other thing, right? I've seen far too many tipping points, right? And I've series after series after series. The host, Ben Shepherd, he's a funny guy, but if you watch nearly every show in every series, you notice that when it's a doddery old git or an ugly old woman who gets through to the final, he's like, oh, well done, well done. When it's a fit young bird with good knockers, he's like all over her, touching her and jumping up and down and rubbing her up and down, and he's all giggly like this.
COVID, yes, not after COVID. The thing is, when you go and see those shows live, all you're seeing is 25 minutes, aren't you?
Yes, it's a whole day though, isn't it?
Take a lot longer than 25 bloody minutes.
Yeah. Because they have to redo the set after each thing, and
they take all that into consideration as well. But I mean, one thing as well is that there are sound effects in that. When those coins come down, they make no bloody noise whatsoever because they're made of cardboard.
Are they really?
They're made of cardboard. They're made of. And
Oh, wait, do you remember
whatsoever? So all the noises you hear are put on afterwards. When they fall out and all that sort of thing, all you hear them coming down and falling down onto the side. It's all put on afterwards because they make. I mean, when they fall down, they make a little bit of noise, but they do not make the noise you hear on the television. That's all. And a number of things is when they get it wrong. The questions. I mean, they had one there. I always remember one that was about Dad's Army, and they were saying about who played Captain Manwaring, and the answer they had up there was the actor that played Sergeant Wilson.
Oh.
And everybody, including me, because I mean I was downstairs anyway, sort of thing. And when they saw the answer come up, we went, "No, no, that's wrong." And they're all looking around, and they're going back.
Arthur Lowe and John LeMessurier.
That's right, exactly. They had the answers wrong on there, so they went back, and that's of course they had to do it all again. Because I mean, he had got the right answer. But they had given, but he got the right answer. But they said he was wrong. But he wasn't. He was right. But anyway, I mean, and that happened a couple of times with questions. But different things like different glitches happen. I mean, they have. When you see it sometimes when it does that ghost fall, sometimes it does that and it just bloody stays there.
Well, that explains it if it's made of cardboard.
Cardboard.
Because it's just a friction vacuum, that's all it is, and it gets stuck to the wall.
There's no weight in them.
Yeah, and you see behind those things, and they're just patchwork put together. The front looks real fancy, and the back looks like you did it in your garage.
So, of course, I mean, and when the coins go down on the deal, there's a girl comes across and counts, because sometimes when there's like 13 or 14 are falling down at the same time, you can't see that's how many there are. I mean, 1 or 2 fall down, you can see, obvious. But when there are 14 come down, and you have a look, and so the girl comes along and counts them, but she can't touch them, because otherwise the continuity wouldn't be right. So she can't physically touch them. So she's got to count them and all that, and she counts them, and she tells him how many there are, and and then she takes them away. She tells them as well. It goes to whatever they do with their editing, and then she takes them away. And that's why there's always clear whenever you see them again. But how they edited it so perfectly is absolutely brilliant when you see on there. Because he'll look over, and because you see his face, he'll look over and he sees, it was 2 that fell off. But they've gone there to take them away, and he comes back and they're editing in the way that they've done it. But as I said, I mean, the show probably, I mean, that half-hour show probably takes about an hour and a half. But the some of the things, you know, so good. I'm trying to think of the comedian. I've got his bloody name now. What's his name? He's on like QI. The one that's always on QI.
As the host or one of the team captains?
Alan Davis.
Alan Davis, yeah.
Pardon? Say that
Alan
again?
Davis.
Alan Davis.
Alan Davis, yeah. Alan Davis was on one of the ones we went to, and V was in her wheelchair at the side, but almost in camera shot, but obviously not because of the way they do it. But when they had to rest, when one of them lost and went away, of course they've got to take the machine. They've got to take the lectern thing. They've got to take that away and fill the hole in and everything else. And while they're doing that, and the adverts are on, I mean that's how it's worked anyway. They've he came up to her and he was chatting away to V, and she loved it. So she didn't know who he was. But every time he came on the TV afterwards, she goes, "Oh, he gave me a kiss. He gave me a kiss." But I mean, now she probably won't remember, unfortunately. But he was really, really nice. And they all
Terry, you want some real inside dope to how you can get behind the scenes, do a lot of that stuff, if you want to. It's the one rule that's simple to go by is you're not trying to take anything from anybody. You know, as long as you're genuinely interested and you're not trying to take anything, you can be pulled into that world around Pinewood Studios, BBC, and things like that. Say you go into one of those things. While you're sitting there, look at the faces, look at a boom operator, look at the floor manager who's, you know, the producers organizing the show and stuff like that. Recognize faces, not just the famous ones, recognize faces. When everything cuts out, either a restaurant, but more ideally like a pub. You go to a pub afterwards, those faces are going to show up in that pub. And walking distance to wherever you are there, you're genuinely interested in what they do. You know, like I said, even if it's just a boom operator holding the microphone up or walking around, or one of the floor managers and things like that. 90% of these people are us. It's this group. It's pop culture nerds that either like the old television, the comic books. The end conversation is always something pop culture. And a lot of times it'll come back to comic books. So you see one of these people at the pub afterwards and you strike up a conversation that could instantly lead to Supergirl comics or anything. You know, as long as you're genuinely interested, you could make friendships where they invite you to those shows. They become showrunners. You know, somebody who's a boom operator one day is a gopher or a fixer the next day. Oh, yeah. Like my buddy Steve, who showruns Doctor Who. But he does it on the down low, where he's invited me to filmings of Doctor Who episodes. Yeah, I can't get over there, but at least I'm invited. If you're over there and you like Doctor Who, you get to know these people and you have common ground. Look behind you. You have common ground. Can you talk knowledgeably about said TV shows, said pop culture things, especially comic books? And you just develop a simple friendship where you don't even have to ask, because these people are so pigeonholed and have such a simple life like ours. You know, hey, these are my interests and this is what I do when I'm not up to my ears and doing this, this, and this. And before you know it, you're having conversations with the famous people backstage because they want to show you, you know, you see this board and you're out there going, well, this thing's made of cardboard and it doesn't make any noise. You want to hear that? You want to meet the guy that does the noisemaker. Here's the guy that does that. Do you want to see the back of the machine, which behind it looks like something thrown together in somebody's garage? Up front, it looks super fancy, but the people behind the scenes, and you get in behind the scenes and just doors fly open because you realize it's just, as long as you're treating it like you're talking to us here, that's what it is. You know, if you go in looking for it and say, I want to meet this person and can you get me, and can you get me? It turns me off so much when somebody comes up to me and says, hey, you can put me in a room with this guy. Well, yeah, I could, but why are you asking me that? let it come to me saying, hey, I know you like this musician. I would like to personally introduce you to them when they're in town. Just let it come naturally, and you could have a million different things. And before you know it, you're having a conversation with Stephen Fry. And it's not that far-fetched, but as long as you're genuinely interested in not saying, give me, you can get all that inside dope. And again, Pinewood, the history there is insane. I mean, the Star Wars connection is crazy enough. But if you go in not talking about Star Wars, you could end up meeting somebody who put the thing together out there for them.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got you got Judge Judy, haven't you?
Judge, yeah.
No, well, we did have. I mean, since after COVID, I mean, it just packed in. But there was a judge over here that was on TV, and my other half, I mean, she loves him, and he's been on. I mean, we went there about 5 times. We actually went there on her birthday on the 2nd of April, 2020, and obviously that COVID there, and it was cancelled. We'd actually got there on her birthday. It was up in Manchester, they film it, and we actually got there, and it was really, everybody was queuing up. They all walked in, sat down on the chairs and everything else, and then they turned around and said, oh, I'm sorry, but we can't do the show.
Who's this? Judge Rinder or someone?
Judge Rinder, yeah.
Judge Rinder.
It wasn't his fault. I mean, it was the thing. But we actually on there. But we had been there. We've been there 4 or 5 times before. And you were talking about, like you said, about the staging, like the tipping point there. You go around the back, and it's like like a Meccano set sort of thing that's badly made. Well, you want to see the Judge set from what you see on the TV in comparison to what it actually looks like in life. But he is a really, really nice guy. I mean, they come in, they talk to you before, tell you what they want out the audience and such sort of thing. They just want you to enjoy what you're hearing and all the rest of it. But really get into it and all that kind of stuff. And he was no different every time. And one particular, the first time we went, the second time we went, and again, the second time we went was again on her birthday. And I just turned around and said, is it possible for her to, get a signed photograph of Judge Rinder? And she said, oh, yes. I said, it's her birthday, sort of thing. It'd be a nice little present. Oh, lovely, okay. And because he heard it was her birthday, he said, oh, well, come round and see me. So after the thing had finished, I went round there, and she's got a lovely picture of. I think I've got it on here. I've got a lovely on the computer, and I'll be able to send it. But if you wanted it, a lovely picture of her cuddling Judge Rinder.
Very cool.
It was really nice. But as I say, he was a real nice guy. But again, that's another show where you saw, or it was on for an hour, and you might have seen 2 cases, possibly 3. But one particular time we went there, it went on for nearly 6 hours. One case was over 3.5 hours long. And they managed to turn that into a 20-minute episode. How the hell they did it, and it actually made sense, God only knows. But they did it. And it was just that we was there because he actually turned around and said, this is the longest case I've ever had to sit through. I mean, he was part of the reason, because it was such a stupid case. He was laughing all the bloody time, and he's not supposed to laugh, obviously. Yeah. Going around in his chair, laughing his bloody head off, and coming back round again and stopping, because these people were just making him laugh, because it was so bloody ridiculous, this case. They're real cases, no matter what they say on TV, they are real cases. And there is a real settlement, and the ITV do pay whatever that settlement is. But once they've done that, they can't go to a real court and do the same thing.
Well, you have to sign up on things because you get paid for being on TV anyway, so you're making money, win or lose.
I mean, Judge Rinder, he hates Judge Judy mainly because of the amount of money she makes in comparison to him. I mean, what he made in a season, she makes in 1 episode.
Yeah, Judge Judy here is pretty annoying. Pretty annoying. You want to hear something really crazy? I'm the only representation from America here. All you guys are over there in jolly old England. and I'm about to say this because I'm obsessed with it, but if you haven't seen Judge Render's little midnight crash pad on Michael McIntyre's big show, where they raid his house at like 1:30 in the morning, it's fucking hysterical.
Yeah, I've seen it. No, he is a really nice guy. There's no doubt about that. So,
I didn't even know who the hell he was, and I couldn't quit laughing at it.
No, he's a real nice
guy. They crash a lot of people I'm somewhat familiar with, but the only reason I know that name is because Michael McIntyre crashed his house.
Yeah.
And I go on Michael McIntyre binges.
Yeah.
And that segment's like 10 minutes long, and it's just pissed down your leg funny. And I have no idea who the hell the guy was. That's the most I've ever heard about him. They give a brief synopsis, this is a show and this is who he is, but it's like, to me, it meant nothing, but man, that segment is hysterical.
Yeah, no, he's the male version of Judge Judy, or was. He doesn't, he appears now he does, the occasional morning on New Good Morning Britain or something or other now.
And it'll pop up again in my suggestions, and that'll just knowing the backstory makes it going to make next time I watch it 10 times funnier.
He's done documentaries. He did because he's a Jew, and he did a documentary about sort of like family and everything else sort of thing. And he went over to over to Germany, over to Auschwitz and places like that. And he did some sort of serious stuff. He's been in those other programs, but he's now I say the COVID bugged the Judge thing up for him, but by the feel of it, I think he probably wanted to get out of it anyway. I'm sure if he hadn't, they would go back to it because it was a popular enough program. It's not one they repeat though. Don't ever see it repeated because I'm in about 35 episodes.
There you go.
Well, because the thing is, they do usually. Well, every time we went, anyway, the 5-6 times we went, they do 3 cases every day. But they don't necessarily show those cases on the same day when they show them. So I've been on sort of like an episode and then another episode sort of thing, another episode in a way through. But I say that's an exaggeration there, 35, but it's probably about 18 episodes, 19 episodes. But I've never seen it repeated. I don't know whether it is on some strange channel somewhere. It's around where they because I know they advertise bloody Judge Judy, don't they? That's got I think that's got a whole channel all on its own, I think.
There was a channel, and I have a Skybox, but I don't have a subscription, so I just got the free channels. And there was one showing Doctor Who with John Pertwee.
Yeah.
And it's just like I was looking ahead, and it's on for weeks and weeks, and it's gone now. So I don't know what the hell's happened to it. It's just gone. It's quite a good little thing watching old John Pertwee Doctor Who's.
My favourite Doctor.
The entirety of Doctor Who has been cancelled.
Oh, you mean by the new thing?
They've even cancelled the old stuff.
Yeah, well, what gets me is that some of these people that say, I've seen every episode. I thought, no, you haven't, you lying bastard. Because you're not old enough to have seen every episode. And some of them have been destroyed. So they have possibly seen every episode. And there's so many of the first and the second season that they destroyed, or taped over or whatever the hell it was. So annoying. There was a thing through, there was supposed to have been a new, oh Christ, what's it called? James Bolam and Rodney Bewes.
Whatever happened to the Likely Lads?
Yeah, absolutely. But the original Likely Lads, and they've only ever 3 episodes of it. I've got the 3 episodes of the series, and they reckon they've found them all, and they've got one a box set. But all it was they were all lying scumbags for it. All it was is tapes. It's just a radio show thing. That's all it is. They haven't found them at all. Because they've always had the radio ones. They've always had those radio tapes, but they've never had the full series. Whatever happened to Likely Lads, yes, they've got all of that, and they've got all that series. But there's only 3 episodes of the Likely Lads. I think it's the pilot episode, and I bet episode 4 and episode 6 or something or other of the 3rd season, and that was it. But they had never found the others. So they were all taped over. the wonderful BBC. I mean, that was one thing you would say about the Americans. I mean, they've kept everything. I mean, I bet they've got old news programs going back to when the first, when television first began. I bet they've got those on tape somewhere, sort of thing. Us, the tape's very expensive, so we'll tape over this, and they taping over glorious things. I mean, like Dad's Army. I mean, they were still doing it in 1968, taping over this because they lost 2 episodes of that because they did a redo of that, didn't they?
They was trying to keep the TV license costs down, mate.
Yeah. Well, yeah, when it was 1 and 6.
I can't believe nobody snapped those tabs off the tapes to stop people from recording over them.
Yeah, if only it was that kind of tape. That is annoying when you see some of the stuff that they've actually destroyed. I mean, the last of the 1948 show. I mean, I got a DVD package of that, but it's not all of the episodes. It says it is. It's the whole series, but it isn't at all. I
think about some years ago, I think it was they released a DVD of the adventure game. I don't know if you ever remember watching that.
Brilliant.
It did specifically say this is every episode we've got. Yeah. So there you go. So I better buy it because somebody's going to tape over them again at some point.
But no, it's a shame that they did that sort of thing. I mean, there were some programs, thankfully, were being paid by somebody else, not the BBC. And so therefore they kept them. I mean, the man in the iron suitcase, the man in the suitcase, because I think that was paid by ITC, which was part of American money or somebody else's money, and that you got the full version of that. I mean, something I watched, but a friend of mine, Des, who used to collect all that sort of stuff. He managed to get that on DVD, but it only came through America. It wasn't on DVD over here. As I say, it was sort of an American version.
Another thing to keep in mind with those kind of things, when I talk about how small of a world it is, and Alan Class talked about it too, there's a handful of distributors, there's a handful of people that were involved in it. It's a really small world. You think it's huge, but it's a really small world of maybe a couple hundred people, which again couldn't fill up most pubs, where they could give you the history of it. And these are the caretakers, and the person that taught them was the person that did the Monty Python. You know what I mean? You could run into somebody in a pub who's worked at BBC for 25 years, who has no real history, but then you find out the person who taught them was the guy that signed Monty Python or something. You know what I mean? It can be that small of a world if you just go looking. And it seems huge, and I know London's got 8-10 million people in it.
At least.
Yeah, it's enormous. But when you narrow it down to streets, the street right out front of Pinewood Studios, you'd just be stupefied by the number of people. And again, the degrees of connection are a lot smaller than you would think. Like I said, it's a perfect example. You got a boom operator. Well, he just happens to be 3rd generation in TV. Well, you go back 3 generations in TV, that means his grandpa worked on Benny Hill. You just never know how small a world is until you start opening that can of worms. And you could have so much fun with that, and it'll get pent up in these guys. Hey, I never get the chance to talk about this without there being attachments to it, and I could just laugh about it. And you realize the world just shrinks down, and then you're not dealing with London. You're not dealing with the whole of the UK. You're dealing with High Street right in front of Pinewood. And if you get in that mindset and you're interested in the history of it, the floodgates open. I am so jealous of you guys over there right now because, again, I mean, I've never hesitated to say it. Doctor Who bores the fuck out of me. Not a fan. Not a fan. But if I got to go see a filming of the show, if they told me, hey, we're going to throw you in a costume because you have a SAG card, we're going to throw you in a costume and you can be in an episode walking in the back. Well, fuck yeah, I'd do it. Just to say, yeah, that's me. This is me. I'm in that grainy image where if you, film it, or if you freeze frame and you expand your picture on the camera, I'm in this movie or I'm doing this. Hell yeah, I'd love to do that.
You'll be a dead cert for the new Davros.
The what?
Davros. Do you remember Jeremy?
Stick a couple of sucker pads in your head. You could be a Sontara. No, I want to say Zygon. A Zygon.
See, I have no idea what he's talking about, but I'd fucking do it in a heartbeat. I'd do that in a heartbeat.
You know, Jeremy Kyle. You know the program he had. He was, he got sacked from it, didn't he? Because of what happened. But the room that they sit in is actually at the back of Judge Rinder's studio, where Judge Rinder was filmed. But the stupid thing is that room isn't by the studio where Jeremy Kyle is. They film it there, and then they cut it because the actual place where they were filming Jeremy Kyle was over the road.
Yeah.
Don't ask me why they had it in two places. I have no idea. But when they coming out of the back, these people, they're going to be see whether they're the father or the mother or whatever the bloody hell it was. When they come back, they're actually coming through a door, and they just walked across the road from another studio into there because they've been filmed in that other room. Sort of thing. Why they filmed it there, I have no idea. But
do you want to know why?
Literally at the back of where they filmed Rinder.
Do you want to know why they do it in a separate location? Do you want to know the inside dope on why they would film something that important outside of it?
Why?
They have like leases, building leases and contracts and things like that. And if you film so much, it's in the contracts where if you film so much there, then it's the tax write-off. It's a part of the thing. But you have to film like X amount of time. Say you film 200 hours a year and you have this space to film it in, and you need an outside space, and they're renting, say, make it 3 buildings. You got 3 buildings where you have to do something with that 200 hours. Well, the primary building, you do 125 hours. The secondary buildings, you split between the other ones, and it's written in, so you got to have like the other 75, so 35 and 40 at each one.
I mean, the thing is, I thought, because all of those buildings I thought were owned by ITV.
But usually it's a lease. The buildings are usually owned by some billionaire. Think of it this way. Richard Branson owns the block.
Yeah. It's an ITV program.
Yeah.
And those 2 programs I mentioned are both ITV programs. And so this is up in Manchester where they film it.
Yeah.
Next door to that is where the BBC Philharmonic Orchestra is.
Yeah. But if you look at it like this, Richard Branson owns the block. It would cost you $1 billion to buy the block. Well, you don't want to buy the block, so you rent 3 buildings.
It's probably the royal family.
And then it might be the royal families. And then you rent them or lease them. Usually it's a lease. But you have to do so much production there. So you've got your primary production where you put all your money, your secondary productions in the other spots. And if you do, they have an understanding, you have to do 10 hours a week worth of programming filmed at this, so we can claim this, and it's the tax write-off, and it falls under this, and we meet that guidelines. So it does the 20%, you do your 20% of that. Well, then you get your tax write-offs, and it kind of pays for itself. But that's why they do that in those different buildings, because most of those companies don't own those properties. Who owns those properties are the billionaires. Are the royal families, the Richard Bransons, the people like that. And then they get their money from leasing the property. And then the big corporations like ITV or BBC, they lease the area. And then they meet those contractual obligations. So they got their tax bills paid. And then they get the write-offs if they do so much there. Which is why something where you would never give it a second thought, that 3rd building where you would think is, what the fuck? That's why.
But there's a lot of the programs we watch on TV now, especially the quiz stuff, most of it is now made up in Scotland.
Yeah,
there's a few places I would have liked, shows I would have liked to have gone to, when V was open, when V was well, and we was going there. Then we found out they were in bloody Scotland, so it's like a 500-mile trip.
Well, and it tends to move around, but Pinewood's never going to go away. Pinewood's always so big. It's never going to go away. Like BBC headquarters is never going to go away. But you find those little satellites, the Scottish satellite filmings and things like. You could have so much fun at that, and it's driving distance to you.
Scotland's a bloody big place. It's bigger than the Manchester one, and the Manchester's big. Yeah. But as I say, it was a shame that they say most of them. So I would have liked to go and seen Jeopardy. He was talking about what's it the earlier. So I would like to go and see Jeopardy being made. But that's filming in Scotland.
Does that mean, though, on Jeremy Kal, when anybody ran from that back room for a scrap, they had to run across the street to get to the...
I'm assuming so. I never watched Jeremy Kal. I mean, I've seen a bit. I saw bits of it a long time ago, but it was only when people, because the person, as we were going by, that's the green room of Jeremy, not the green room. I can't remember what colour they call it, something or other. That's the Jeremy Kal thing, and they just pointed it out. That's what it was. Where's the rest of the bloody studio then?
But it cracks me up with you guys because England and Scotland to me is so small because I could like be considered John O'Groats Scotland, and the bottom of London wouldn't even reach Bill. So it's so small in comparison to me in the States.
500 miles is a fair journey just to go and see a bloody television show.
But what you could do, and the whole concept with that is, now granted, I mean, I'm taking your circumstance into account, but the whole thing with that is you make it a holiday. You drive out on a Friday. You lose Friday drive time. You recuperate when you get there on Saturday.
That's what we did to go when I went to Manchester. And Manchester's only 100 miles away.
But then you get Sunday through Thursday of just free time to wander. So you can literally make it a week-long trip. You can't day trip it. You can't day trip a 500 shot.
No, as I said, I would have liked to say we would.
But yeah.
There's no point.
I'm 2,000 miles away from Hollywood, California, right here, so I couldn't do much. I'm 800 miles away from Broadway in New York. But to me, that's such a small place. And again, if I was 20 years younger, I'd have so much fun stomping around England and the UK.
No, I mean, in all honesty, I mean, if V was well, then we would do things like that. We would have a holiday. We would go. I mean, I still keep getting emails from all these different shows that we went to, went to Pointless as well. That was good fun. I mean, Alexander Armstrong, again, another nice person. I mean, I couldn't believe how they spoke to all of the audience. And I mean, there's plenty of audience as well. There's plenty of people there. It doesn't look much on the TV, but there were plenty of people there because you don't only have the front bit that you see. You also the back part as well, sort of thing. There's lots of people at the back, but
you get to see how the sausage is made.
But as I say, there was lots of places we'd like to have gone to, but I mean now there's just no point. I mean, the thing is, if I drive any more than about 5 miles away, 10 minutes later she wants to go home. So,
okay, I got a question for ABZ Comics here, since they're from Scotland. What the hell did you do in Wisconsin for long periods of time? Seriously, I mean, if you weren't going to Alpine Valley, you got the Dells to do the water parks. Oh, Darren going. You got the Dells to do the water parks. You got Alpine Valley to go see concerts. But what the hell could you do in Wisconsin for long periods?
Maybe you worked for TSR Games. They were located in
Racine, I think. Yeah,
somewhere park.
Racine is where Whitman is, and Racine in Milwaukee. But
no, it wasn't Racine.
It just looks like my backyard. Most of Wisconsin looks like my backyard. House on the Rock, went into Illinois a bit. Well, of course, I mean, yeah. I mean, there's just not much to do in Wisconsin. And mind you, I'm in Indiana, so I know what I'm talking about because there just is not much to do in Indiana. So there is no such thing as a nightlife. It has its spots, but yeah. I mean, I've done some incredible things up in Wisconsin, don't get me wrong. But, how many times can you do one thing? The Wisconsin Dells, That's oh god damn it! I always see it on Lad Baby. That water park thing. Oh well, whatever. But it's a nice little water park thing over there in England. It's like that's like it is over there in the Wisconsin Dells, and a nice little amusement park. But most of it is just at the it's Scotland. Scotland and Wisconsin have a lot in common. That's why I guess I could see he married his wife from there. It's Wisconsin is the Scotland of America, as is Indiana for the most part.
Disney Park as well, aren't we? By 2028.
What's that?
We're supposed to be having a Walt Disney World by 2028. Yeah,
we're getting Universal as well, aren't we? I thought we were getting the Universal.
Oh, Universal. Sorry, it's Universal Walt Disney.
Hey, and if they keep things up, you guys are going to end up getting a 28 World Cup or the 28 Olympics and the 32 World Cup or whatever. If our government keeps screwing stuff up, they're not going to be able to host these things.
Yeah.
Well, we never really do that much of a good job with this stuff anyway.
But yeah, if anybody ever came to the States, like my wife's going to Chicago to see a Cubs baseball game and take a friend around over there. There's just not much to do up there, and that's the biggest city in the Midwest. But once you do it once, it's just kind of do. You know, what are you gonna do? Whereas to LA, you got endless beaches. The East Coast, you have different kinds of experiences. But God, the Midwest is insanely boring.
You can only go to the beach so many times, like, can't you?
Well, yeah, and then it's just, yeah.
I mean, I live within 7 miles of the beach, and I've probably in the last 2 years seen it twice.
Yeah.
So when you've got something, you don't bother with it, sort of thing, you know. If you lived in the middle of the country, it'd be a different matter, sort of thing. But I think in England, we're only 54 miles away from the coast anyway, aren't we?
Yeah. But I mean, the world is like 4 different geographic locations. You're in desert, you're in tundra, you're in forest, or you're in city. Everything else is just varying degrees of, okay, there's a mountain over here and it's just snowy and things like that. But Kilimanjaro is no different than the Rockies in the America versus Fuji in Japan. It's the same damn thing.
I would say problem with UK beaches is the amount of fucking sewage that's pumped out into the blinking sea by our water companies nowadays. Who wants to go to the bloody beach?
Yeah, that's right. Well, Southern Water is one of the worst. Biggest thieving buggers there are, and they're one of the worst.
But we're just trying to entertain ourselves while life goes by. So, but hell, the only reason I'm still here is because I like all 4 seasons.
Yeah, they keep putting the price up. The funny thing is that the bill the other day, and according to the bill, our average use between the 2 of us is less than 1 person. So, that meant that I got a discount of about 5%, I think it was. I'm in credit still with the water company. Well, we have a different thing here anyway. I don't know whether you have where you are, because we pay a sewage bill and a water bill, 2 different companies, because of where we are. When it was changed in 1971. No, it wasn't 17. 19. What was it? No, it wasn't. We moved down to Bournemouth when I was 17, so it was 1973, 74. Yeah, 73 or 74. But the same year that we moved down is when it became, we were moving down to Hampshire, but it became Dorset a few months later. And this used the merry hell out of everybody, including the water people. So now we pay Hampshire for our water, and we pay Dorset for our sewage. And it's done. That's the line that's been drawn. Because I mean, here I've got a phone number here that starts 01425, but 2 streets. Sorry, ours is 01425. 2 streets away or 2 roads away is 01202 still, which is the Bournemouth one, even though it's further away from Bournemouth. So my doctor's number is 01202, and yet they're in the middle of Bransgall where I live, which is nearer. It's nearer Hampshire than it is Dorset. So how they screwed it up, I have no idea. But it does. Another thing is, I drive 7 miles down to the dump, all right? But I'm not allowed there because my postcode is in Hampshire as far as they're concerned. So I've got to drive 27 miles to be able to put my, any rubbish I've got, excess rubbish I've got to drive 27 miles because, as far as they're concerned, our postcode is in Hampshire. We've just had new bins delivered. According to the postcode, when I put the postcode in of when they're going to start using these bins, they reckon October. But I've got a letter through saying that they're going to do the first collection. We used to have the collections on Monday, but they're going to do the first collection on Tuesday, as in next Tuesday. But according to the website, the BH23 code that I'm on is not going to start them doing it until October, even though we had the bins delivered 2 weeks ago. I just don't know, because all we had was plastic bags before, and now we've got real bins.
But you've only just got bins.
Yeah. Well, we couldn't have bins. We only just had plastic. We were supplied with black bin liners for rubbish and clear bags for recycle.
Right.
And if you put it in a bin outside your place, if you actually bought yourself a bin and put it outside the place, they wouldn't empty it. It had to be loose. So but now with this blow with bins, woo! I mean, another thing with where I'm living, we pay £350 a year more council tax than a couple of miles up the road, and I have no idea why, and they can't tell us why we pay more. We had no street lights, we have no road lights, no nothing, but we're paying more than they are up the road who had those things.
You want to hear something crazy with that? Saying it's quite as crazy as my dad had it, but you guys have mailed stuff to me. I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm in Indianapolis, but I'm at the corner of 3 different actual cities. Those trees behind me, behind my house, they're in Claremont. Those trees right there at the end of my road are in Avon. I'm in Indianapolis, even though the county line, see those trees down there? The street behind those trees is in Marion County, and it's where Indianapolis is supposed to end, but it carries over the county line. So I'm in Hendricks County, but I'm in Indianapolis, even though Hendricks County is Avon. So I'm walking distance to another county that way. I'm walking distance to another town that way and that way, like within 2 or 3 blocks. And my utilities go through Hendricks County, even though I live in Hendricks County, but I live in Indianapolis. So I'm in a city municipality, even though I'm in a different county. So when you talk about the craziness of that, if I had to go take care of my electric bill firsthand, I'd have to go 20 miles that way. Because there's nothing out here. I mean, I'm in the middle of nowhere, but I'm right in the heart of the edge of the city. But where my dad used to live, he had a telephone number from one city because the landline went out to the main street, and he lived off the main street. So the landline running the phone was run by one municipality. He had a water line coming in from the other direction. So his water and sewage was run through another municipality. And then his actual physical address was at the corner of all these, and he sat in the 3rd municipality. So when my dad passed away, I had to deal with 3 municipalities to shut off all his utilities. I'm like, that's fucking insane. I think it's crazy enough I have to deal with 2 here. Like I get Marion County, like jury duty. I get jury duty summons to Marion County because I live in Indianapolis. I can't go because I'm not a Marion County resident. I'm a Hendricks County resident by a block. By literally walking down my street, I could walk right out of the county. But because I'm a block or two in, I can't do jury duty there, and jury duty in Podunk is nothing. I'll never see that while I'm alive. But yeah, it's crazy. You put placement and you need to do something, and you should be able to do it right outside your door, and they put you 30 miles away to have to deal with it.
Carl, do they still have that thing that we used to see on the old TV shows where there'd be a cop chase and the villains would get over the county line and the police all stop because they got to the county line, they can't go any? Does that happen still? Did it really happen back then?
It's called a handoff. They do handoffs. Like the coolest one I ever saw was I used to work this night shift at a grocery store, and the Podunk town I went to, the police department and fire departments were volunteer, but they could get called into action. And one of the policemen was a night shift grocery store clerk, was his 9-to-5 job. And he only got paid by the city if he got called into duty. You know what I mean? He's a volunteer, but he got paid if he got called into duty. So they'd be chasing somebody up a highway and you cross municipalities. They'd have to do a handoff. They wouldn't let go till they handed off, but they'd call in advance and say, okay, we're coming up to this, have police officers at this, and we'll pick them up here. And that's where they'll take it. And that's where cross-county chases happen, where you could, if it's a felony, you know, if somebody got murdered, you're not gonna peel off of them. You're insured once you cross that. They had to change rules, but yeah, in the old days, you got to cross county lines, you were clear. But I mean, that's 70 years ago, 60, 70 years ago.
In the General Lee, if you're in the General Lee and you cross the county line, that's it.
But see, the old adage is you can't outrun a radio. So, and every municipality to be in touch with each other, but you'd have dirty ones that, you know, and what they're referencing in the Dukes of Hazzard, again, they're doing it in the 70s, but they're basically talking like they're rum runners of the 30s and 40s. Because you didn't have, in rum runners, you didn't have jurisdiction out of county. And, you know, most of them got paid off anyway, but you make the county line.
They still do moonshine, don't they? They still make moonshine. I don't know if it's legal or legal or not.
So, but so much has changed since then. But I mean, it's the mystique of Americana that's all one big fucking joke.
As long as Daisy still wearing the same shorts, that's all that matters.
Makes you feel the Cannonball Run with a different set of eyes as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's so ridiculous. The John Dillinger Museum is here in town, and they have his penis in formaldehyde here.
Fair enough.
Is that confirmed?
No, it's not tequila. I know they have a little
how
word
ridiculous
tequila,
it is.
Did you say ridiculous on purpose, Drew?
Yeah, ridiculous.
But at least there's only one. I'm guessing there's only one John Dillinger penis. There's about 50 like Jesus's foreskins in there, like in various churches around the world.
Right. It's the old Rasputin thing. They've had Rasputin's penis in formaldehyde for 120 years. So.
What was it you said, Tempest? I missed what you said.
17 of Hitler's balls.
Probably.
Yeah. But
I think they sold it
had a
with
legendary penis.
Didn't they?
But yeah, that's how small town Indiana thought is. But in a museum down by Columbus, Indiana, they have his penis floating in formaldehyde.
Surely that's like how does that get arranged then? Like, excuse me, Mr. Coroner, he's not using his penis anymore. Could we possibly have it for our museum? I mean, how does that work?
You basically summed up the backstory. You literally basically summed up the backstory. Family and friends of the family. He was a known Lothario. They were going to bury him. Friend of the family, plus rumor has it Dillinger wanted it saved for posterity because he was so proud of it. And friends of the family who still run the museum. Dillinger wanted to be like that, just like Ted Williams has his head frozen in ice, something his son did, but something Dillinger and his best friend talked about, and his best friend's family still runs it generations later. That he wanted his penis put on formaldehyde. It was the whole thing they did with Rasputin. He wanted to be infamous like Rasputin. There's a whole big story to it. I don't know how much of it they put online, but Randy and his family.
He never got a song by Boney M, did he? It was Ma Baker and her boys got a song by Boney M.
There's no
and
song
Rasputin
about
as well.
Penis.
Dillinger got left out of Boney M's back catalogue of hit songs.
I also wouldn't like to be the person that has to clean that jar out either.
Well, you don't clean it out. You just
you don't clean it. It just sits inside.
Imagine if you're in a jar, if you're in a room with John Dillinger's penis in a jar of formaldehyde, do you reckon the eye follows you around the room?
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, if you're in Indiana and you want to see something somewhere in Columbus, Indiana, it's John Dillinger's penis in a jar of formaldehyde.
I'd rather go to Kentucky and see the Mammoth Mines, the Mammoth Cave system they've got there, the biggest cave system in the world.
Well, it used to be. It's not anymore. There's a bigger one in China they've discovered. But Mammoth Caves. Mammoth Caves.
When did they discover it?
2 years ago, 3 years. 2019 they started mapping it. But look it up. It's the cave system.
Chinese, They don't fucking let anybody have anything, do they? The fuckers. Honestly,
yeah.
I bet they take half of that themselves.
It's
I bet they had
enormous.
peasants down there digging it out just so they could beat Kentucky in the second place. The bastards.
But yeah, Mammoth Caves is amazing, but it's small in comparison. The one in China is enormous, but Mammoth Caves is gorgeous.
Well, because I did one of my podcasts about the Kentucky themed show, and it was like at that time the second biggest. I think it was in Mexico. It was like half the size of the Mammoth Cave system. So this Chinese one must be fucking. I reckon they've dug it themselves, cheeky bastards. That's what
Wait till your jaw will hit the floor. Just look at it, your jaw will hit the floor. They're doing documentaries on it now. It's fucking incredible.
The audacity
it's like an underground city.
As well, if it's quite small.
So it looks like Journey to the Center of the Earth when they go in. That's what it looks like. It's fucking amazing.
Now, according to this, the Mammoth Cave is still the biggest cave system in the world. At third place, we've got.
It isn't.
The current Wikipedia says it is, but
it isn't.
We've got another link.
They haven't.
There's one in China which is in third place. You're not thinking of the third place one in China?
No, they haven't fully mapped this one out yet, so it may not have passed it in scale, but they already know it's that big.
All right,
they haven't
when I was talking about the largest, then when I was talking about the largest,
they're going to be mapping it. They're going to be mapping it for decades.
So you were kind of incorrect when you said it. Then
they're going to be. I just watched part of the documentary on it the other day. They're going to be They're going to be mapping it for decades. China's just letting people in.
So just at the moment, it's just like they think it is.
Gargantuan, because in comparison, the Kentucky mines are tiny. So
I don't think of that time. There was like twice as big as the second biggest one. I can't. Surely it can't be that much overtaken. Surely.
Well, and again, it's what they've mapped. But I mean, there's probably bigger cave systems in Jordan and stuff like that. They just haven't mapped.
Unless it's like a particular cavern. Maybe there's like I'm looking at this thing. They say there's a cavern that's really big, but that doesn't mean the whole system, which stretches further. I don't know if that's the case. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, they just haven't mapped it yet.
There's a cavern in China.
Yeah, they haven't mapped it yet.
Mao Cave in China. The chamber is huge, apparently, but there's a bigger one in Vietnam. But
they're still mapping.
Cave, that's not the whole system. Anyway, we'll find out.
If you love spelunking and stuff like that, look into it. It's jaw dropping. When you see them go into the main cavern, it's freaking jaw dropping. No,
I've seen too many horror movies in caves. I ain't going down no bloody cave, mate.
I mean, this is coal country. I've been spelunking in the tightest caverns and climbing limestone shell walls like 50, 60
enough about
feet
your sex
high.
life.
So,
I mean, you'd only be disappointed if you didn't see any mole people anyway.
Yeah.
That's true. Mole man.
But yeah. But like Mammoth Caves just looks like you're going underground in the country. The new one that they're mapping out now literally looks like a scene from Journey to the Center of the Earth, where it just opens up and it's a natural cave. Like Mammoth is natural caves with a lot of man-made dugout stuff. This thing in China is insane. When you got that big of a land mass and then you got underground water pulling it off, it's insane. It's like not walking in a cave. It's like walking in a city with a canopy over the top of it. It's so damn big.
That's so fucking long to find it then. It must have a small opening.
It's been there forever. They're just opening it up to the world.
They were looking over there. They should have been looking over there. That's why they didn't.
Yeah, they're looking in the wrong place, weren't they? They probably found I was digging up dinosaur bones. What is a bloody thing? Oh, let's see what's down here.
If you're claustrophobic, once you get past the main entrance of Mammoth Caves and it gets dark and you got to have lights, if you're claustrophobic, forget about it. You just want to die.
Fuck that for a game of chess.
And just make sure if you do go, you've got Doug McCall with you.
Yeah, I'll go to Wookiee Hole instead. It's not so far. Anyone been to Wookiee Hole?
Yes, I've been to Wookiee Hole a long time ago.
I went to Wookiee Hole a long time ago, and I can't remember why, but it didn't go in. I don't think it was overbooked or so. I don't bloody know. I remember going there as a kid, Cheddar Gorge, went to Wookiee Hole, and it was closed. Unless it wasn't closed, and my mum just didn't want to pay for us to go in. I'm not too sure. She told us it was closed anyway.
No, I've been there, but I must be honest, I can't really remember it. I think I was only about 5 or 6.
And I'm having them
all those sort of things.
Yeah, limestone caves. I mean, I'm right outside of limestone caves. My dad was on top of them. I'm having a facepalm moment because it took me a half hour to remember when we were talking about the Wisconsin Dells.
Is Kentucky next door to Indianapolis, Indiana?
Huh?
Kentucky and Indiana neighbors.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can get to Kentucky. I can get to Mammoth Caves in an hour and a half from here. So
I mean,
it's almost straight highway.
And it was somewhere in Spain. I can't remember where the hell it was now. But I would visit some caves there, and there's stalagmites and stalactites, and they'd actually joined together. I mean, that was place. But that had all been, they'd put lights and everything else, all that, and they'd all lit it up, and it looked fantastic.
But yeah,
but that you're walking around on the sort of like a chainmail walking platform. It was just literally it was chains that was all holding up, and then just he was walking on wood, and you were walking through it, and you were above everything, and you could see, you could look down, but it was a bit rickety.
And did everybody learn?
It was a bit scary.
Did everyone here learn the difference between a stalagmite and a stalactite from a comic book?
Is that how you
sadly no, but it did help.
Harry Hill.
Harry Hill, really?
But yeah, I mean that's how they discovered the Lascaux cave paintings in France, which are the oldest comic book and discovered. But I already know they're going to find more older ones in China. But yeah, it took me a half hour to remember the Butlins. If you want to know what Wisconsin's like, if you've ever been to the Butlins, that's the Wisconsin Dells is that times 2.
Butlins.
The Butlins.
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 We've been
Water Park.
You're going to Butlins?
The Butlins.
Literally Butlins.
Linz, Lins, Butlins. The Butlins.
You're not talking about RDI, are you?
You're talking about the holiday camps in the UK called Butlins.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's what the Wisconsin Dells is like, the Butlins.
Okay.
Just a higher scale of it. I couldn't remember the fucking name of it, but that's, if you want to think of the best thing to do in Wisconsin, it's the Butlins in England.
Butlins is quite cool. Pontins. I went Pontins once or twice.
I mean, like I said, it is insanely
couldn't afford
boring.
I weren't made of money.
It's the American Midwest could not conceivably be. There's Siberia might be more boring than this, but that's about it globally.
When I was a kid, I think it's probably 8 years in a row where we went to Butlins. Usually Bognor Regis. Usually.
Okay.
It was fun. I was talking to somebody the other day about it because I found where I put the bloody thing now. when you used to go there, they used to take photographs of you in the morning, or in the afternoon, evening. Whenever you're having a meal, they used to take photographs of you, and then they used to try and flog them to you. And they used to flog these little plastic pieces, little plastic things. And you've got the picture is at the bottom there, and you can look through it, sort of the eye, and you can see the picture. The one I've got, because it was in my stuff my mother had. I just I don't know where I put it now, but not that you'd be able to see the bloody thing, but still. I suppose I was about 5 or 6, because my brother was a baby. My brother's 4 years younger than me, and he was a baby at the time, so it must have been he was about 1 or 2. And I was in the top bunk of the bed, and I fell out in the middle of the night, and I smacked my face on a chair below. Probably if I did it now, it'd kill me. But then I just bounced off it, and I stayed asleep amazingly enough. I don't know how, but in the morning, so I want to say, I think my mum and dad heard me fall, and they got out of bed, sort of, and had a look. They sort of put me out and put me back in the bed. But I had this bloody great bruise in the morning on my face, and when I had the photograph taken there, that was the photograph that was taken. With this dirty great bruise, it's like somebody smacked me in the face. And it was
you probably got a concussion and slept well.
To find it.
Lisa's got a picture like that. My partner's got a picture like that of hers as a baby with her dad and a few of his mates taking at one of those holiday camps. Did you win a knobbly knee contest at all, Terry?
No, I didn't. When one of the things, the very first time I went, and I don't quite remember it because I was only about 18 months. But maybe earlier, I won a Bonnie Baby competition.
Oh, of course.
I started and waited.
I was as bored as I am now. According to my mother,
it'd be cool. If someone did a Comic Con at a campsite, at Butlins kind of thing. You get like music festivals at those kind of things. You get rock and roll gigs at like holiday camps. You get heavy metal gigs at holiday. So if someone did a comic book convention at a holiday camp, they'd have like, that'd be quite fun, I reckon, if they could get some talks, people in to do some talks, someone selling stuff at the tables and all that kind of thing. I think that'd be great.
I mean, they have all inclusive holidays nowadays anyway. But I mean, the thing about Butlins was the good thing was that you went there, you paid the fee, and that was it. You didn't pay anything else. I mean, obviously you go on the amusements and you use money. The Pepsi Cola machine, you definitely use money. But I always remember that it always come out the machine. It always seemed to be nicer than it ever was when it came out of a can. But you say everything was free. You played you go to the amusements and on the Dodgems and the other little rides and stuff like that they used to have. I mean, I was on the Dodgems most of the bloody time.
And they always have like a cinema club as well, wouldn't they? They'd show like a film in the afternoon or something.
When I say again, I don't know how old I was, but I know my mum was with me. And we was in the audience, and there was this magician on, and he was doing, these silly. He was kind of a silly magician, like a Tommy Cooper kind of magician sort of thing, He was doing tricks. And then they asked for a volunteer in the audience, and I was the only one that never put my hand up, so I got picked.
Did they chop you in half?
Oh, it was funny because you get on there, and all I can remember from it, as I said, I was probably 4 or 5, maybe 6. I can't remember. But all I can remember was he had this mallet thing, or sort of club, similar to Timmy Mallet, that sort of thing. Something like that, not the same, but something like that. And he said, "When I say hit, bang me on the head." And he sort of whispered this to me. And I mean, this was the days before microphones and all that sort of stuff, so everybody would have heard him say it. So he was whispering. He said, "When I turn round, hit me on the head." Okay, so I've got this thing like that. So as he turns around, I hit him on the head. And I get told off for doing this and everything else. I said, "Do it again." And I can't even remember what the idea of it was, but I had to keep it in my head. and then he did this he did this magic trick, which again I can't, as I said, it was so long ago I can't remember what it was. But he produced something, like a bunch, I don't know what it was. Some toys and different things he produced, from out of nowhere and all kind of thing. And then he produced this. I do remember this bit because he gave it to me, and it was a box, and he had a little horse in it. And it was the Lone Ranger's horse. Didn't have the Lone Ranger with him.
Silver.
Yeah, silver. Because that was written on the box. And he gave it to me as a present for it, well, basically hitting him on the head and doing these silly things. I don't know what
and that's become a life of crime.
Yes. But no,
you've been mugging people ever since.
I do remember. I remember sort of little bits of that kind of thing. I remember, but what the purpose of me hitting him on the head was, other than getting a laugh, I suppose, was probably
the old Chaplin routine.
Yeah, yes, probably something like that. I don't know. As I said, I can't even remember how old I was. I mean, 4 or 5 at the most. But no, I probably went to Butlins for about 10 years, I suppose, with the family. But it was good fun. And that was another thing about saying small world. Virtually every time I went, I met somebody I knew there. Like, at school, a school friend. Or not necessarily a friend, somebody that was at school. And I know you, sort of thing, like somebody you'd seen before. And it turns out to be a school friend. It was quite weird, sort of thing like that. I mean, I know that it's only 100 miles away from where I lived, but it seems, quite a coincidence, sort of thing. And virtually every year, probably not the first couple of years because I was too young, but after that, there was always at least one person I met and the family. And usually when we met him, we was with the family, and of course then that meant that bloody family and our family always had to meet, and then the mum and dad would meet them, go to their clubs, because they used to go to bed at like 7 o'clock or whatever it was, and then they'd go out for the night for the evening shows that they had on, and they'd usually meet up with those people that we met because of me.
That's why if we were 20 or 30 years younger, it'd be the kind of thing, hey guys, go do this. Now we can just say to the younger generation, hey, you can go have fun, go do that. This and this and this can happen. Go do that. It's still there. It's still fun. Go do it. But for us, I can't go down a water slide no more, but goddamn, that'd be fun.
But
I ain't going no more mosh pits, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Mosh pit days are behind me. And as for stage diving, that can fuck right off. I ain't doing that no more.
Yeah.
Now, I went to the quiz night on Wednesday, and the month before we came last, so we got to choose like a round. So I said, do Silver Age DC comics. Yeah, for this round. He fucked up and did Golden Age. And first off, it was like, which of these is not a Golden Age DC character? Superman, Batman, or Spider-Man? Fucking obviously easy. Then it was what was the first superhero team? And he gave you multiple choice, but I knew it was JSA before he gave the multiple answers. Then it was name one of the top DC characters, the 10 most popular DC characters from the Golden Age. And I first of all, for a minute, I nearly put Captain Marvel. I thought, no, because Captain Marvel was Fawcett. So I went with Green Lantern, and that was right. But he put Captain Marvel in the top 10 as well. I said, no, Captain Marvel was Fawcett. He wasn't DC till later, but it didn't really matter. And the last question I thought was fucking. He said, "What? Give 3 reasons, or one of the 3 reasons why comic books were so popular in the Golden Age." And I was like, fuck me, I've never heard it even being mentioned. So I was like, where the hell did you get this question from? I was thinking to myself. I didn't even bother fucking trying to answer it in the end. I was like, it just seemed like such a weird kind of I don't know, question. And one of the answers he gave, he said because there were more printers or something. And I was like, sort of that just meant there was more comic books around. That didn't necessarily mean they were more popular. I thought that was a fucking weird answer. It was just seemed like a completely random out of their question. We did 3 fucking easy ones, and then one questions.
Yeah.
Do you know what caused the rise in Golden Age comic books?
Crime?
Patriotism. They used comic books as propaganda, and it was printed.
Yeah, that's what one of the people said propaganda. He said, no, that didn't come till later, apparently. So I just thought it was a fucking really weird question. And
no, once you get out of Golden Age, they quit using it for propaganda and patriotism.
Yeah,
the rise
other than you had the Korean War for a bit, didn't you? But other than that, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, come on, the cover of Batman 15 is him sitting behind a 30 caliber machine gun. Yeah. Batman firing a machine gun, saying buy war bonds.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm pretty sure that wasn't one of the answers he gave, though, but I can't remember now. I can't remember.
Probably the first 50 issues of Batman and Superman and World's Finest were all.
Yeah, it all went away after the war.
covers, didn't they? They didn't have
once
any.
the atomic age stopped. Once the atomic age started, it all went away.
One at a time, guys.
Yeah.
Let Terry finish off his point before you hammer over the top of him.
I mean, once they've, I mean, up to that time, that's all they were. Because you never, barely ever had an issue where the actual story was on the cover, did you? It was always like that. But then, say, once the 50s, well, 55, 56, so then it didn't. I mean, because they didn't really do propaganda for wars like Vietnam, did they? Or Korea or anything like that. I mean, Korea was 50s, wasn't it? Late 50s, early 60s.
50, 51, 52.
It was 51 years too. But they didn't do, I don't think they did propaganda books then, did they?
They did some Red Scare comics, but again, it wasn't during the peak. The peak of it was solely because propaganda.
Yeah.
Like, that's why comic books peaked. It was propaganda.
Yeah, it's got to be.
It was patriotic and it was propaganda.
Yeah. I mean, they bought them and then they gave them away so they could use them for whatever else they needed.
For the paper drive, for the war effort.
Yeah. Paper drive for the war effort, even though they went down to lower quality paper and stuff like that. They only did single staple. But, I mean, they all told you that. But, I mean, the cover of Captain America 1 was a year before America got in a war and he was socking Hitler in the mouth.
Yeah.
So they were making a statement initially, but
that was Jack Kirby, wasn't it? Because he obviously he knew what was going on with I don't know if he knew what was going on with the Jews and all that over there. Because he was definitely patriotic about that, wasn't he? And you know,
and then he went in the war and fought in the Battle of the Bulge. So. And then he really didn't like doing war comics after that because, you know, they drew vanilla versions of that, but there is no way to draw an image of holding somebody's arm, handing them a stick and say, think about this while I move your severed arm over here out of sight.
Yeah.
They don't make them like they used to. I'd love to have shaken Kirby's hand for that. If I'd have met Jack Kirby, I'd have probably talked comics for 5 minutes and talked the rest of the time about growing up in the streets of New York as a immigrant and his time served in the war. I'd be more interested in that than comic books. It's like, comic books were cute, dude, but tell me more about your life story.
Has he ever had a biography written about him?
He's had a bunch written about him.
Yeah.
An authorized bio? I don't think there is an authorized bio out there about him.
No.
There was a comic Free Comic Book Day. There was one like his sort of like, I don't know if it went into a whole series or not. The Free Comic Book Day was a Jack Kirby comic book, and it was talking about him, wasn't it? I wonder if there was that whole series of his history, or was it just a one shot?
It was done. That was done in comic form, wasn't it? Like they did a Stan Lee one, wasn't there?
I wonder if it got any further. They told more about his story in there later on or something like that. I wasn't too sure.
There's few things more fascinating than talking to guys like that actually saw that shit firsthand.
Yeah, a lot of as I've always heard, a lot of people who actually went to war don't like talk about it. Don't talk about it. You know what I mean? It's one of those things
you got to be an old vet. I walk into a room with them and they welcome me, and I feel like such a fucking fraud. I've had more World War II veterans welcome me in with open arms, and I just feel fucking embarrassed. It's like I had 4 bad days. You know, I don't merit talking to somebody who had 4 bad years.
I think they had it worse in one, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. Much worse
than
that.
The fucking poison gas and the trenches and fucking literally walking slowly into the enemy lines.
I met a couple of guys from World War I in my youth, and I was stunned they lived into their 90s. I was stunned because, again, the older you get, the more you talk about it. But you lose your will to survive when you see that shit. So, you know, how they lived for so many years. And Terry, you've heard the old story about my stepdad in Africa, right?
Yeah. About
their paper boy and that small world thing. That's why when I hear small world, I'm like, that's how small the fucking world is. You know, you can run into somebody you knew 40 years ago in the middle of fucking Africa. And you'd never think it would happen. Now, granted, I mean, that was World War II, so the odds were way higher. But you'd be surprised. You go on a world travel and you run into a familiar face from your childhood. Like, what the fuck? And it's nothing but circumstance. Hey, we happen to take holiday here. We happen to take holiday here. Great minds think alike. We went there. That happened. There we are.
Well, I mean, it's like you
not stalking you, honest.
Gray about saying Butlins. I mean, how the bloody hell does an American know about Butlins holiday camp?
And again, my knowledge of that's from Lad Baby. My knowledge of the Michael McIntyre thing from John Redner. It's Redner, right? Rinder.
Rinder.
Judge Rinder. But again, and I watch a couple of those, and that's what comes up
Judge
on
Grinder.
Suggestions. I spent my morning watching Graham Norton highlights. You know,
just if you like Michael McIntyre, Kal, you should watch some old Noel Edmonds.
And those come up on occasion, you know, and things like that. And then, like I said, knowing people, my buddy Steve, he could have put me on an episode of Doctor Who if I was over there, which is great, but I don't hesitate to say I can't stand Doctor Who. But because I made him as a friend, because I want nothing from him, he got to hang out with two of the young ones. Next thing I know, I get a couple things from the young ones in the mail. And the only one left to me is Ade Edmondson. I've got to figure out a way to get in touch with Ade Edmondson. That is a major goal in life. I got to have a conversation over several days with Rick Mayall. That's a high point in my fucking life. And like I can find 10 people in the world that even give a shit. And it's all it is a couple of things. I got historically saved photographs of my email text chain back and forth with my email chain back and forth with him. This guy knew who was dating Rick's daughter at the time. Introduced me to Rick's daughter, and I said, just tell your dad. Just tell your dad. I think the world of him. He makes me laugh hysterically. She gave him my email address. I was so fucking humbled by that. I was like, dude, all I want to say is you are probably the funniest living human being right now. And he told me about his quad accident, and he got kind of personal, and he just said, it's nice to hear that. It's nice to have a fan. I never once asked him to send me an autograph. I never once asked for anything. But I ended every conversation with thank you, thank you, thank you. He said thank you to me for being a fan. I'm good. I would love to have an 8x10 signed by Rick Mayall, but I'm never going to ask any of them for it. Yeah. You know, I'll ask Aid for something, from him and Jennifer if I ever meet him, but you know, I just want to check that off my list that they know I'm alive. Hey, they know I'm alive. I'm good. You know, Nigel Planer knows I exist here. I'm cool. You know, Nigel Planer has heard my name. I'm good. If you see this, Nigel, thank you. You know, but all because I don't want to go on Doctor Who.
To show these comics, these are all doubles. I know Terry doesn't need them. I don't know if you're interested in any of these, Tempest. We could do a Noel Edmonds swap shop or something if you need any of these. If you've got anything, I've got Super Team Family number 7. I've got Prez number 2.
I think you Super Team Family 1, didn't I?
Yeah, I think so. Strange Adventures. I've got this one. I don't know if you need this one at all.
I haven't got that one.
You ain't got that one?
No.
I got this one as well.
Yeah,
the Alien Print. You got that one? I've got some Metal Men that I've got double. I don't know if you want to interested in the Metal Men at all.
The definition of atomic age superheroes.
Sorry?
The Metal Men are the definition of atomic age superheroes.
Yeah.
I don't think I've got that Strange Adventures.
Invaders. Invader. Run, fools, run! Scurry into your holes. And a couple of Black Hawks. Black Hawks are crazy. Silver Age madness. Right. I think we should call it a night now. It's nearly bloody 11.
How this turned into 3 hours boggles my mind.
Yes.
Right then. Go?
Wish ABZ was still here to verify the comparison to the Butlins to the Dells, but he'd get it. Just the Dells is huge.
There's that detective that you.
Oh yeah, that was to be honest. That's a higher grade than I wanted. I wanted to beat you with no cover just so I can make that one that I've got here.
The cover's it's tatty and it's got a tear in the back as well. Anyway, so I'll get a better copy of that at some point.
What is that, like March in 1966?
Yeah, must be right there.
Yeah. Plus, I won't show you the other stuff I've got for you.
Hey?
I won't show you the other stuff I've got for you.
You got some other stuff, have you? Okay,
yeah.
Cool. All right, well, let me know. Talk about these another time if you need any of them. All right. Let's all go to bed now. Not together, obviously. But, whatever gets you for the night.
See you later.
See ya.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.